It's 9:02 a.m. on January 10th, 2023. This morning, our invocation will be given by Pastor Tencha Carmona from Centro Cristiano Camino Nuevo. Go ahead and come on up, please. Thank you.
My name is Tencha Carmona, and I feel privileged to be here and take you, all of you, before the Lord. Let's pray. Father God, we praise you and we thank you, my Lord, for the privilege to come before you this morning, to present, Lord, these authorities before you. We ask you in the name of Jesus to give them wisdom, understanding, guidance, in the name of Jesus, Lord. They have a lot of things in their shoulders, but you're the God that provides everything. And I ask you, Father God, in the name of Jesus, to really fill their hearts, their understanding, and bless their families, Father, in the name of Jesus Christ. We put everything in your hands. You're the one that give us the authorities, and you're the one that let us know how to go day by day. And Father, thank you for each one of them in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor Carmona. And if you all would rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amanda, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Shaljo Hernandez,
Present.
Commissioner Reynolds,
Here.
Commissioner Chaparro,
Present.
Commissioner Murillo,
Present.
and Chair Sanchez.
Present. The commission convenes as the Board of County Commissioners and the County Board of Finance in open session. Well, to begin, I'd like to welcome our new colleague to the dais, Commissioner Shaljo Hernandez. Welcome to your first meeting, and thank you. All right, so we will get on to our first item of business, which is to elect a chairperson and vice chairperson for the Board of County Commissioners of Doña Ana County for the calendar year of 2023. We will begin with the chairperson. We'll be taking nominations. I have been chair for the last 2 years, so I am no longer eligible to be chairman this coming year. So with that, I'll open it up for nominations for the chairperson.
I'd like to nominate myself.
Okay, we have nomination for Commissioner Reynolds.
Mr. Chair,
Madam Vice Chair?
I nominate Susana Chaparro for chair.
Okay, we have a nomination for Commissioner Chaparro. Are there any other nominations? Okay. I should say, if we do this, Nelson, is there any issue if we just voice our support for who we support for chair as we go down the list?
Mr. Chair, no, the vote does have to be public, identifying who voted what way. So just doing an oral roll call vote would be appropriate.
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Reynolds?
Yes, I'd like to state a case as to why I believe I'm a qualified candidate. I've actually served as a chair for 2 boards already, the Spaceport Regional Tax District Board for a year. I've also just recently, or I'm still serving as the chair of the board for the MIRVDA. And I have a certified county commissioner certification from New Mexico Edge. I also was asked by the state New Mexico Edge program to revise the county commissioner's handbook, which I finished in October. And I have 4 years on the board already. This will be my 5th year. So I think I'm more than qualified to serve as the chair for this board this year.
Thank you, Commissioner Reynolds. Commissioner Chaparro, did you want to add anything before we vote?
Certainly. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate it. Fellow commissioners, I think I'm ready for this position. I've been a magistrate judge for 8 years, have been around the court system for many years, and I've been very pleased to serve with all of you, with the exception of Commissioner Shaljo Hernandez, who is a new commissioner, but he and I were the leadership of the Democratic Party for 2 years previously. And I feel very prepared to be chair of this board. And thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Chaparro. Okay. With that, I will then do a roll call, and we'll ask that the commissioner state your preference for chair. So, Amanda, will you do a roll call?
Commissioner Chaldro Hernandez,
Susanna Chaparro.
Commissioner Reynolds,
Myself.
Commissioner Chaparro,
I vote for myself.
Vice Chair Murillo,
Chaparro.
and Chair Sanchez.
I vote for Commissioner Chaparro as well. Okay, so I welcome Commissioner Chaparro, the new chairperson for 2023.
Thank
Congratulations.
you.
So I will switch seats with you for now, if that's all right, and then I'll let you run the the election for vice chairperson.
Thank you.
Okay.
Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you, fellow commissioners. I'd first like to start with thanking Commissioner Sanchez for his wonderful leadership for the last 2 years. He has been a great colleague, a very good commissioner, and an excellent chair, and I'm going to count on him in the following at least year or two to help me navigate this. So I'd like to thank him publicly and applaud him for his hard work.
Thank you, Commissioner Chaparro, and it's been an honor to be the chairperson for this commission and this body for the last 2 years, so thank you for that.
Thank you. Now we will proceed to the election of a vice chairperson. Do I have any nominations for vice chair?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Sanchez?
I'd like to nominate Commissioner Chaldro Hernandez for vice chair.
Thank you. We have a nomination for Commissioner Chaldro Hernandez made by Commissioner Sanchez. Any other nominations? Hearing none, we will proceed to vote. Ms. Amanda?
Commissioner Chaldro Hernandez,
I vote for myself.
Commissioner Reynolds,
Yes.
Chair Sanchez, Chair Chaparro. I'm sorry.
I vote for Commissioner Chaldro Hernandez.
Vice Chair Murillo,
I vote for him as well.
and Commissioner Sanchez.
For Commissioner Chaldro Hernandez.
Well, the vote is unanimous. Congratulations, Commissioner Chaldro Hernandez, on being vice chair. And if I may, before we make any more movements, I would like to follow tradition that has been, of course, in the past. And in the past, the vice chair takes a seat to the left of the chair, and the outgoing chair takes a seat to the right of the chair. And I feel that I would greatly benefit from Commissioner Sanchez helping me along these first few meetings. So if we could just take a couple of minute breaks while we move nameplates around, and also allow the commissioners to move their laptops and books or whatever needs to be moved. So can we take a couple of minutes break at this time?
Madam Chair, if there's no opposition, certainly the board can stand in recess for 5 minutes.
Is that all right with the other commissioners, that we take a brief recess so that we can move our computers about? Thank you.
And give me time to open up and be my sweetest self. This is Raja, who's 4 years old, a domestic short hair male. Our dog of the week is Jax. I'm playful and curious boy who loves pets and treats. I'm also very smart. I already know sit and paw, and I'm willing to learn more with my future family. Take me into your home, and I promise I will give you a lifetime of love and adventures. So again, Jax is 6 years old. He's a large mix, 70 pounds, and a male. The potential adoption opportunities are at Tractor Supply this coming Saturday from 10 to 1. Again, on behalf of the County Commission, we want to encourage those that are viewing the proceedings, those that are present, and our general public to consider adopting either Jax or Raja or any other animal that may reach out to your heart that is currently housed at the Animal Services Center of the Mesilla Valley. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman.
Thank you, Mr. Macias. The next item on the agenda is employee recognition, and the commission will now recognize the Doña Ana County employees for their years of service to Doña Ana County. And Mr. Macias, would you please present this?
Thank you, Madam. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. On behalf of the County Commission, we take advantage of each of our meetings to recognize employees that have met a certain milestone here at with their county employment. We were going to start with Cindy Garcia Beakley, but I believe that she had a medical conflict. So we will start this morning with Maricela Singh, and we're going to recognize her for 20 years of service to Doña Ana County. Maricela Singh joined Doña Ana County on the 16th of December of 2002 as a switchboard operator at the detention center. She took on a document technician role in 2013 and continues to serve at the detention center in that capacity. Maricela is friendly and cooperative and never leaves her work incomplete, said Patricia Ferrales, her disposition supervisor. Ms. Ferrales said that when she is out of the office, she is at ease, knowing Maricela will make sure that work gets done. Lieutenant Jessica Lujan, who also supervises Maricela, agreed, remembering a time of being short-staffed and Maricela took on the lion's share of the load and never complained. As committed as Maricela is to her work, when she goes home, she leaves all courts and paperwork behind to enjoy time with her 2 grandchildren. She also enjoys watching reading mystery novels. Okay, so on PBS right now is Vienna Blood. Oh, it's a great mystery. And it's based probably on great novels, so that's the next ones to read, okay? And also trying out new foods. Ladies and gentlemen, please join the commission in congratulating Maricela Singh on her 20th work anniversary and thanking her for her dedicated service to our community at the Doña Ana County Detention Center. And again, her plaque reads, in appreciation for and recognition of 20 years of dedicated service to Doña Ana County on behalf of the Board of County Commissioners and county managers, or county management. And again, I want to just note on a personal level that I communicate with Ms. Singh almost every morning as she sends basically the population counts at the detention center that is very important to be tracking, and I've always appreciated the very, very positive attitude that she reflects through email. Thank you for that service. Here we go. And let's take a picture. Could we gather behind Commissioner Murillo? Our next honoree, and this is somewhat of a sad moment. This is actually oh, not for you, right? Well, for the rest of us. This is a retirement after 25 years for Mr. David Austin, or Officer David Austin. David Austin joined Doña Ana County in September of 1997 as a detention officer. He was promoted in 2001 to sergeant and transferred to the juvenile facility in 2009, where he now supervises both officers and detainees. His strength is his ability to communicate well with others. In a crisis, he specializes in de-escalating situations and using verbal judo. His motto is, "Do not forget where you came from and treat everyone with respect." His supervisor, Lieutenant Jeremiah Perez, said, "Sergeant Austin creates an enjoyable, team-oriented workplace for everyone around him. Not only will the detention staff miss him, but all the people across the state who work with him and call the detention center just to sing his praises. Sergeant Austin doesn't demand respect from his peers. He has earned it." Something that perhaps not many people are aware of, the Juvenile Detention Center here in Doña Ana County serves as the hub for juvenile detainees from across the southern part of the state, and at times juveniles from other parts of the state. So not only has Sergeant Austin been supervising children that have been placed in detention from Doña Ana County, but from all, let's see, today there are at least 8 other counties that had children here in Doña Ana County from other counties. In retirement, he most looks forward to spending time with his grandson, Joshua David. He also hopes to rest and go fishing. He may get back into bowling and is considering becoming a high school official for football and softball. Okay, so if that's really the case, let's see you run to the door and then backtrack. Oh.
It's called angles, sir.
Oh, angles. So you just stay in one position, so you never. Okay.
I'm too old to run.
I thought you were going to show it off. Okay. All right. Well, it's changed since I was in high school, I guess. Please join the commission, the detention staff, management in thanking Sergeant David Austin for his dedicated service to the county, our community, to congratulate him on his retirement. We wish him well and the very best in his next chapter of his life. Congratulations. And again, Sergeant Austin, we're hoping that you'll use this other than as a fruit platter, and that you'll keep it very visible in recognition of what has been a very dedicated 25 years to Doña Ana County, and again, serving under always continuously difficult situations. In honor of your service, David V. Austin retired with distinction after 25 years of loyal service on the 31st of December of 2022. Congratulations again. Do you have any of your family? So if Sergeant Austin has family with him, and I can see that they do, would you please step forward so you can participate in this photo opportunity that you can keep as a memento for this, from this day.
He is, he's got to chase him around.
Oh, good. Let's come back. Yes, sir.
Sergeant Austin, could I have you go to your left, please? A little bit more? Perfect, right there.
Can't run, but can shuffle really.
Got it, thank you.
Madam Chairwoman, that completes our employee recognition.
Thank you, Mr. Macias. We will now move forward to public comment. If there are any members of the public that would like to provide input to the commission, please step forward, sign the book, and just like to remind the members of the public that you do have 3 minutes to speak. Thank you. If you'd like to step forward, please.
Right over here.
Right there on
Podium,
the,
please.
sorry, on the table there on the left.
The podium, the podium.
Oh, good, I have a timer. Great. Hi, good morning. My name is Athena Huckabee, and I'm a registered voter that lives in Doña Ana County, District 3. It is with respect and thanks that I address this body today. I want to thank you, the county commissioners and the employees of Doña Ana County for recently updating the animal ordinance. I'm an individual that's been active in animal welfare initiatives, including trap, neuter, return of feral cats since 1997, and I received my master's in public health in 2016. I moved to New Mexico in 2017, where I've continued to advocate for animal welfare. I'd like to address the stipulation in the now current animal ordinance that TNR cats not be released within 2 miles of the river. It's been stated that this is due to the issues of public health and public safety, and I'd like for this general comment about health and safety to be addressed much more specifically. What public health and safety issues are being referenced here? Human waste, the most foul and contaminated waste of all mammals, is only recommended by the USDA and National Park Service to be at least 200 feet away from water sources. Why for cat feces would it need to be 2 miles, and on what public health literature is this number based? It seems to me that it may be an arbitrary number. Rather than evidence, I speculate that this could be driven by constituents near the river who may have inadvertently contributed to the problem by having readily available food, shelter, and water, and perhaps even rodent infestations that are attractive to cats. It's important that constituents are willing to do their part to mitigate conditions that attract cats to their properties, just as they would for any unwanted free-roaming animal. It's important to acknowledge that free-roaming cat colonies may not be appropriate for all locations within the county. However, 2 miles from the river is extreme. I noted there is nothing in the ordinance about allowing or providing funding for enclosures for TNR cats that are caught within 2 miles of the river, such as catios, which may be part of the solution. The ordinance as it stands essentially means every cat trapped within 2 miles of the river must be euthanized. This is a complaint-driven, reactive, revolving door of euthanasia that does not get to the root of nor solve the problem of feral cat populations. We must move toward proactive, evidence-based solutions like utilizing TNR along with strategies like integrative pest management. Otherwise, cats will continue to return to areas of high rodent activity. If cats are successfully removed, rodent infestation then becomes the main constituent complaint. As others have stated, New Mexico is, well, others haven't stated it yet, but they will. New Mexico is 50th, unfortunately, currently in animal welfare. We can do more and do better for the citizens of Doña Ana County as well as the animals that live here. It's important that we revise the ordinance along with a team of animal welfare and policy experts to move forward in best practices. Thanks for your hard work, your time, and your careful consideration of this issue.
Thank you very much. Is there any other member of the public that would like to step forward and speak to the commission?
Thank you.
Thank
First, I'd like to say how important these public comments are. We live in a time, unfortunately, of rising political hostility, and you provide a vent. And if citizens aren't given a legal way to dissent and to voice their displeasure with elected officials, then they will find illegal ways. So it's very important that these public comments continue. With that, I come to see you as one of the nuns. No, not that kind of nun, the other kind of nun. You may not have heard of us yet, but according to Pew Research, we are the second largest and fastest growing religious category in the United States of America. If Donna Ana County is similar to the rest of the country, we make up 30% of your constituents. We have no creed, no organizational structure, no officers, no spokesmen, no publications, meetings, or anything you might associate with a religious group. I confess that I'm being presumptive by even using the pronouns we and us, and I must acknowledge that I speak only for myself, though I consider my view fairly typical of the group. Nuns have no religious allegiance. We aren't Christians, Jews, Muslims, Buddhists, Hindus, Sikh, Zoroastrian, or pagans. We include atheists, agnostics, deists, and those who accept no label at all. Generally, we consider religion to be an unnecessary burden on ourselves, our society, and humanity. We all believers and clergy may come to you with requests based on a religious agenda. Our agenda is less religion and less influence from religious groups in our government. As our forefathers of our nation intended, we want strict separation between church and state. Please consider omitting religious rituals from your proceedings. By that, I mean prayer. I acknowledge that good governance may appear to be a miracle, but reason convinces me that it is an application of reason, compassion, and hope based on the human potential that produces good governance, unity, and progress. For that, no deity, Christian or otherwise, is required, and none should be invoked. Thank you.
Sir, and for the record, would you please state your name?
Jim Hurst, H-O-E-R-S-T.
And would you please sign the book?
I did.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else that would like to make a public comment?
Good morning. Happy New Year. I was given a wonderful gift for Christmas, Constitution of the State of New Mexico. I wish I had brought my U.S. Constitution, because in the U.S. Constitution, it says nothing, zero, about the separation of church and state. That was taken out of a letter from Thomas Jefferson to a church assembly. But what I'd like to read out of this is that the state of New Mexico is an inseparable part of the federal union, and the Constitution of the United States is the supreme law of the land. All political power is vested and derived from the people. All government of right originates with the people. Too much coffee. This founded upon their will is instituted solely for their good. What that's saying is that the rights that we have under the federal Constitution are exactly the same rights that we have as a state. So we have a new member here. He hasn't heard that under the First Amendment, we are given the right for freedom of religion. We're given the right of freedom of the press. We're given the right of freedom of speech. We're given the right of freedom of assembly. And we're given the right of freedom of protest. I just wanted to reiterate that because we have a new member. And I'm also very thankful to see that the old rattlesnake that sat in that chair is gone. Thank you. Have a good
And
day.
sir, your name for the record, please.
Mark Feith,
Thank you.
District 1.
Any other member of the public that would like to step forward?
Excuse me. Good morning. I'm Jerry Wheelis, co-founder of Animal Advocates for Change. I would like to read you a joint statement made by Don Duncan, founder of Animal Companions, who could not be here today, and Animal Advocates for Change. Many of us are here today because we believe we can do better for the humans and animals of this county by following best practices. According to annual studies done by the Annual Animal Defense Fund, New Mexico ranked at the very bottom for the second year in a row. SafeWise did a study on pet-friendly states in the U.S., released March 2022, and New Mexico also ranked last. Clearly, we need to involve those who do this work if we do not want to continue to be ranked at the bottom. Additionally, these statistics are considered when new people choose where to live and where to make their livelihood. As you are aware, Best Friends, a nationally recognized organization, has issued a statement and petition in opposition to the county's new ordinance. So how can we make sure that as new ordinances are written, we are learning to better care for people and animals in this area? An academic study by Sage Publishing for state and local government review on best practices in local animal ordinances conclude that control issues are emphasized over animal welfare concerns, and policies are not sufficiently detailed to protect the community, animal guardians, or the animals themselves. Most importantly, the study notes policy entrepreneurs and nonprofits have an important role in affecting local ordinances. The City of Las Cruces is working with Animal Advocates for Change, which includes many representatives of other animal welfare groups, to revise their ordinance, and we hope that you would do likewise. We have a wealth of experienced animal welfare groups in this community, yet none seem to have been consulted to assist with preparing the ordinance. We recognize that you provided the requisite notice required by law. However, that minimal notice does not reach the majority of your constituents. Further, it is rather disturbing that commissioners on the ASCMB board would vote for the current ordinance, since the new feral cat provision is in direct contradiction of the ASCMV mission by unarguably increasing cat euthanasia due to the innate nature of cat colonies. We believe that we share with you the desire to implement best practices, and we have research and skills to assist in helping you develop an ordinance that reaches this goal. We urge you today to take seriously the need to work with representatives from animal welfare groups to draft an ordinance that will move us from the 50th worst in the nation to a place that shows Doña Ana County truly values animals and how we care for them, which directly affects the safety and well-being of the humans as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else that would like to step to the podium for public comments?
Good morning. My name is Diane Starbuck Robato. I live in Las Cruces, and I'm a member of the Animal Advocates for Change. I thank the county commissioners for their time and their thought that went into the new animal ordinance. I wish that it had been publicized more than the minimum required by law. I also wish the county had reached out to local experts in the area of animal care and control. I would like to address the issue of feral cats that are trapped within 2,000 feet of a daycare center, school, nursing home, care facility, park, or county-owned property, or within 2 miles of the Rio Grande or designated arroyo. That's a lot of territory. What will become of these cats? I can only see 2 options. One, they're euthanized, which essentially turns TNR into trap and kill, or release the cat into a more acceptable area. Very few people want to be responsible for option 1. However, it becomes the more humane choice given what happens when a feral cat is released into a different area than what it was living in. Cats are territorial and form strong bonds with other cats in its colony. A relocated cat will panic and not know how or where to find food. It will try and make its way back to the original area where it was living. Few survive. Either choice is a death sentence for the trapped cat. As Commissioner Curran said in an ASC meeting, the policy will more than likely result in an increase in euthanasia. This seems to be in direct contrast to the legislative intent of the county ordinance, which loosely stated, increase protection of animals from neglect, abandonment, and abuse, minimize the number of healthy or treatable animals euthanized. Another issue with this ordinance is that it will not result in the reduction in the number of feral cats in the mentioned locations due to concepts of carrying capacity and vacuum effect, well-documented biology concepts. A habitat with a set amount of resources will sustain a population of a certain size. It doesn't matter if you remove the feral cats from their location, Their population number will eventually recover through reproduction if the resources available remain. If you remove all feral cats from a certain area, then other cats will move in to fill the vacuum. My request is that you please consider rewriting or amending the ordinance with help from community animal advocates group that have studied and documented best practices throughout the United States. We are here to help you and the animals. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else that would like to step forward and present a public comment to the commission? And just to remind everyone, please sign the book once you are done. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. And I did sign in. Thank you for your service to the county, and congratulations on your new position there, you too. My name's Mary Rodriguez, Mary spelled with an I. I live in the county just outside the city limits of Las Cruces. I'm a huge proponent of mandatory spay-neuter practices because I know firsthand that it works. I understand that this has never been instituted in the county, which I find shameful given the number of animals overwhelming our shelter and euthanized simply due to space. I see them posted about on Nextdoor and Facebook, dogs running loose, being hit by cars, people being bitten by dogs, all too often. This is a solvable problem. It takes implementation, it takes education, but I also know that this commission cares about the community doing what's best and wants to be forward-thinking on the matter. Other counties in New Mexico, for instance, Santa Fe, Gallup, Rio Rancho, Silver City, and Albuquerque have mandatory spay-neuter ordinances and have found ways to pay for it. I personally inquired with other counties in the state and found that their costs are subsidized by fine and penalty monies collected when people break laws such as breeding indiscriminately, allowing their dogs to roam freely, having unlicensed animals, and the like. In the county that I moved here from, I had lived for over 60 years. And in that time, not the whole 60 years, I was, a kid part of that time, I personally witnessed ordinances go into effect that reduced the number of stray animals, both dogs and cats, feral cat colonies, and animals in shelters. A spay-neuter clinic was later built in 2012 that further reduced that number. There are far too many animals in our shelter and too many great animals that are euthanized. Mandatory spay-neuter practices are a proven, effective way to manage this. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to step forward?
Good morning. Step is the operative word for me. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you this morning. My name is Kathy Stark, and I am co-founder of Animal Advocates for Change. And we are a grassroots organization made up of animal advocates, including participation by animal companions, Cherish Canine, Cats Meow, Action Programs for Animals, and the ASCMV, to name a few. Our goal is to move both the city and the county forward in animal care and control by advocating and implementing best practices. AAFC has done extensive research into best practices, including the SAGE Journal, State and Local Government Review of Best Practices in Local Animal Ordinances. And we're currently working with the city to bring forward an ordinance that would make the city a model in animal care and control. We applaud the legislative intent that's contained in your adopted ordinance, increasing protection of animals from neglect, abandonment, and abuse, minimize the number of healthy, treatable animals euthanized, and encouraging responsible ownership through population management, primarily through sterilization. But as you've heard from others, the feral cat provisions in the adopted ordinance do not align themselves with that legislative intent. In addition, you have created a double standard, because not all community cats, free-roaming cats in the county or the city, are feral. While cities and counties across New Mexico are moving forward in implementing best practices, Doña Ana County is stagnant or has moved backwards in areas including community cats, tethering, spay-neuter provisions, care and ownership responsibilities, cruelty provisions, and others. So what are we asking you for? First, we're asking that Section 134-7A4 be amended as soon as possible to permit the release of TNR cats in the vicinity in which they were trapped for all the reasons previously stated, which is the national best practices on TNR. Second, that the county engage the community in a thorough review of the entire ordinance and move it towards best practices. In your discussions of the adopted ordinance, it was repeatedly noted that changes to the ordinance are intended to address public safety concerns and constituent services. What are those specific concerns? Because they've not been articulated, so we ask that you do that. As eloquently stated in the Sage Journal, inadequate animal control ordinances can lead to increased health risks from dog bites, lawsuits from dog attacks, complaints about nuisance issues, improper care, and lack of protection for companion animals, and ultimately animal suffering. And it concludes by saying cities and counties on a whole do not have animal control ordinances that follow best practices. Control issues are emphasized over animal welfare, and policies are not sufficiently detailed to protect the community, animal guardians, or the animals themselves. We offer our assistance, and we remain ready to help in any way we can to move the county in a positive direction in animal care and control. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Is there any other person that'd like to step forward to the podium?
Hi.
Good morning.
My name is Brianna Dato. I actually work at the Animal Services Center of the Mesilla Valley. I work in the cat intake room, and I am one of the people that walk these so-called feral cats to the blue room to be euthanized. And it's not easy. I say so-called feral because in my experience, I see cats come in every day and they're stressed out. And I call cats overdramatic because they are in a new environment. They are around new people, new smells, new cats, and they do stress out and they do go into either fight or flight mode. And I mean, I had a cat last week that when I brought her into my room, she seemed feral, completely feral, and I have it on video. She was brought in the arms of an 8-year-old girl. She was a very friendly cat. But coming into my room with new cats and new people and new smells, she stressed out and she became feral. She was not feral. And 2 days later, she was a very friendly cat, which I have on video also. We cannot determine based on a 2-minute evaluation of these cats whether they are feral or not. And that's what unfortunately we do have to do because we do get a lot of intakes of cats and we don't have that much time and we don't have room to house them to determine whether or not they really are feral. So how do we know we're not euthanizing somebody's cat that came in and was stressed out and acted feral? We need to amend this ordinance. We really do. It's not fair to these cats or the people that possibly own these cats to euthanize them. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other member of the public that would like to step forward and make a public statement to the board? Hearing none, we will move forward to staff input. Mr. Macias.
Thank you. And again, just so that those that are in the audience are aware, I'm going to make an introduction. Ms. Michael is going to provide the commission with some information related to a selection. And then I'm going to ask Ms. Ward to make some comments related to the animal ordinance, so it may be of interest to some of those that have addressed the commission on that matter. So first, commissioners, let me introduce you to our new Director of Information Technology, Mr. Kent English. Mr. English began his career at Texas Instruments, where he supported global data center operations and system automation. Prior to joining the county, he served as the Director of Information Technology for Alaska Pacific University in Anchorage, where he directed the operations and application teams supporting the university infrastructure and creating technical solutions. Mr. English will oversee the operation of our IT department, which provides the services of computer equipment and telecommunications operation and maintenance for all county offices. Mr. English holds a bachelor and master's degree in computer science from the University of Texas at Dallas, as well as being a Cisco certified cyber operations associate. So again, members of the commission, this is Mr. Kent English, our new director of our Information Technology Office.
Welcome, Mr. English. And I will commence by thanking you because I had one of your members of the IT staff come over and fix my computer this morning.
And I'm not going to ask him to say anything, but I'll have him email you with information, and certainly is always available to respond to technical information.
Thank you.
With
I
that,
think you'll be hearing from me quite often, Mr. English.
Thank you. Let me have Ms. Michaels come forward with an announcement to the commission.
Good morning, Ms. Michaels.
Good morning, Jamie Michael, County's Health and Human Services Department. Wanted to let the commission and the public know that Doña Ana County was one of 30 counties nationwide that was selected through a competitive application process to participate in the National Association of Counties Opioid Solutions Leadership Network. The two goals of the Opioid Solutions Leadership Network are to elevate the role of counties in effectively investing the settlement funds that are coming to counties and states to help save lives and address the needs of people with substance use disorders. And the second is to provide a platform for county leaders to share our knowledge with each other and to learn from others. So my intent is to use this time and this learning to come back to you with a comprehensive plan on how to address opioid use disorders and all of the magnitude of the impact they've had in our community, so we can spend our money in a very effective way. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Michaels.
Let me ask Mary Lou Ward, who's our manager of our Animal Services Department,
Good morning,
address
Ms.
the
Ward.
commission.
Good morning. Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, and Commissioners. Mr. Macias, congratulations to you all and welcome, Vice Chair. Just in regards to the new Doña Ana County Animal Control Ordinance, I would like to just start off by saying, first of all, there was a lot of time and effort put into this new ordinance, consideration and input from the public prior to the ordinance going into effect. There was a lot of factors that came into play before the ordinance went into effect and before it was actually even put out for public input. Those factors were considered as, I'm not sure if you can hear me okay, public health, our wildlife, the TNR itself, considering we are trying to consider both sides of the issue, our constituents and the TNR itself, and how far the territory is. We looked and did a lot of research on how far feral cats travel when they are released. And that information was taken into consideration. So public safety was the number one thing with that. TNR cats can still bite. They can transmit diseases. They kill other animals. They attack livestock and become a nuisance. More importantly, they're considered to have a direct impact on our biodiversity. So the National Association of Public Health Veterinarians concluded that free roaming feral cats and TNR programs are detrimental to public health. That's all information that we took in consideration before going through with our ordinance. Also, since cats are considered non-native predators, meaning they kill a range of 1.3 billion to 4 billion birds and 6.3 billion to 22.3 billion mammals a year, that's about 69% of the birds in the U.S. Rio Grande is one of the areas that we have a lot of birds, and it's a bird sanctuary. So we're trying to figure out a way to make it fair for everybody, to keep them away from the borders of the river when they're picked up in that vicinity, to still get them released. And I want to add that our ordinance does not state that the cats have to be euthanized. Nowhere on that ordinance does it state that. It just says they can't be released within that vicinity for the various reasons of that. So in New Mexico, over 500 bird species alone have been reported to migrate through the Rio Grande area at some level. That includes our hummingbirds and our state bird. So I just wanted to add that in there in regards to that. Those are all some key points. And if you look at the areas that the cats travel, when we did our research, cats travel about anywhere from 1,000 acres to 2,000 acres when they roam. That's over 1.6 miles to over 3 miles when they roam. We also looked at consideration and looked at the amount of call volume we had for cats that were picked up. How many cats did we have picked up? How many complaints did we have in regards to cats and our call volume and these animals that where we're getting called from? These were all taken into consideration. In 2021, we had picked up 645 cats. In 2022, 824 cats. We also looked at the shelter statistics. In 2021, the shelter released 909 feral cats into the community. In 2022, the shelter, this was as at the time we had done this research, the shelter had released over 1,200 cats into the community. During that time as well, we looked at the amount of cats that we had come back for bite reports, cats attacking livestock, not just animals or dogs attacking livestock. We actually had some cats attacking livestock complaints, which were feral cats. We took all of those into consideration when we looked at the ordinance and the vicinity of where they were. So for that, I'll stand for any questions.
Madam Chair, rather than continuing kind of the discussion at this level, I'm going to ask Ms. Ward, and because she reports to Mr. Jonathan Macias, for them to meet with the advocates that have been identified here, to have a discussion related to the overall ordinance, and to see if there is any kind of ground for coming back to the commission to modify any aspect of that. I know that we have, normally we try not to respond at these, to public comments, but because of the nature of it and because, as far as I'm concerned, the county has been, you know, a great ally to any of the animal advocate services. We fund SNAP for spay and neuter at a level that is at a historical high. So I'd like to think that we're considered a partner. But if some of the partners are raising concerns, then I want to make sure that we're responding to that and that we're having an opportunity to sit down and take a look at the concerns in greater depth. So again, in order to avoid ongoing discussion here, because we still have a lot of business to do.
Thank you, Mr. Macias. Fellow commissioners, are we in agreement with that?
Madam Chair, would like to add one thing if I can.
Certainly, Commissioner Sanchez.
And I am in support of what the plan that Mr. Macias said, and I hope we can have that discussion with the advocates. I did just want to add that I think all of the commissioners did also receive a letter from Clint Thacker, who's the director of the Animal Service Center of the Mesilla Valley, so discussing this topics as well. So just wanted to let everybody know, like I said, that we have had some feedback as well from the Animal Service Center as well. So, but I look forward to what Ms. Ward and the county staff has that discussion with these advocates. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Reynolds.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I agree with, well, first thing I'd like to point out too, that I've received several letters, emails, calls, comments about this ordinance as well, and I agree that we need to review it, revisit it in some way, starting with Assistant County Manager Macias, and Ms. Ward is actually probably the best first step, because certainly I'm not qualified to make some of these decisions or understand some of these policies as well as you guys are. So, thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. And I think that the suggestion posed by the county manager is a good suggestion, and we look forward to hearing feedback from the Assistant County Manager, Mr. Macias. Any other staff input, Mr. Macias?
No, Madam Chairwoman, thank you so much.
Thank you. Then we'll move forward to county elected officials' input. I see that Dr. Lopez Askin is ready to proceed.
Hi, good morning, Commission. Happy New Year. I wanted to formally congratulate Commissioner Sheldon Hernandez and welcome him to Doña Ana County and leadership here. I know that our staff is very happy for that you're here. You have been exceptionally supportive of all of their work, and we wish you Godspeed and everything we can do to help and support you. Often the recording and filing side of our office, it gets lost in the shadows of elections. So Angelica Valenzuela is the supervisor there, and I'm sure she would love it if you gave her a visit and learned a little bit more about that side of our office, which is always busy. And welcome, Commissioner. I just wanted to add some comments using my time as an elected official. I actually could have used it as public. Many of you know that besides the clerk, I'm often considered the dog lady because I have been a longtime advocate in animal welfare, and I'm a longtime foster. I currently chair Action Programs for Animals, which is, if not the largest nonprofit working towards a no-kill community. We definitely appreciate all of the support that SNAP provides our community connected to spay and neuter, and believe that that is the key to reducing the pet population. And I wanted to offer my perspective. I don't need to go on about this. I know we're going to move this to a separate discussion, but as an advocate in a long time in this community, I wanted to give my perspectives. The individuals that came up here today literally give their blood, sweat, and tears every day advocating for better treatment of the animals in our community. And when I say blood, sweat, and tears, I have seen them all. That's not even including the financial part that they contribute to support some of the more humane practices. I listen to them when they talk about the cat situation. The thing about feral cats, if you have animals, if you have animals that you love in your life, and I hope you do, then we need to personalize it. We need to think about every single one of those cats or kittens as a potential to be one that you love, right? Feral cats have a very hard life. They're battling the elements. They're battling for food, each other, predators. That's not to include any of the vehicles, as well as the mistreatment by humans. We've already done them a disservice because they don't have a home. We cannot adopt ourselves out of this animal crisis that we are in, not only in Doña Ana County, but in New Mexico as a whole. But we can implement good policy that will reduce the population, and that really is the goal of TNR. In 20 years from now, when all those the current feral cats have outlived themselves, we hope there's not any more. But the reality is that we're not doing enough on the front end to prevent it from the back end. So I am going to go basically on record saying that I absolutely support another look at the ordinances. And I would also, the goal is that TNR someday will not be needed. We would love it if we did not have to release these animals to fend for themselves. And my hope is that I'm confident with Assistant County Manager Macias. He really is great with working in the community, and I trust that when he works with the advocates, he'll listen and that we'll come up with something that meets all of the best practices connected to animal welfare and feral cats in particular. Whenever I see a feral cat, I mean, I've never known them to attack. They're actually very afraid of humans. They don't want anything to do with me and livestock. So I was sad to hear that livestock were an issue. But I know that there's some solutions that we can all can connect to and come to that would also meet the needs of the advocates as well as our department connected to animal control. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Askin. Any other elected official that would like to step forward and speak? Hearing nothing, then we will move on to commission input. Is there any commissioner that would like to add to any comments this morning?
Madam Chair?
Commissioner Sanchez.
I did want to just bring up a couple of things. I think number one, I know, I don't know if many of you were aware, but there was some disturbing news in Bernalillo County where we had 2 county commissioners as well as, I believe it was a senator's home, there was their homes that were shot at. They also had the campaign headquarters of one of our new senators as well was shot at. So, you know, I think one of the things that was brought up is the availability of public input and providing feedback to elected officials. And I know while it's gotten very contentious, you know, it's gotten to a point at times where there are threats against elected officials because we've reached kind of a fever pitch in some of our politics. And so I hope that while it's very discouraging to hear that kind of news, I hope that everybody will take a moment and really think about that kind of passion and how they really kind of bring that out, because I think we have ways in which those issues, concerns can be brought up before it comes to violence or threats of violence. Every one of the elected officials I feel like I can say here in Doña Ana County always try to serve the public. We don't always agree with all of the public, but we're here to serve you all, and we're here to listen. And I have not seen an instance where any of these public officials have ever turned away people specifically when they come and talk to us. So wanted to at least get that out there and people aware if they weren't aware of that. The second thing, and I think this is more frustrating than anything, is what we've seen coming out of Santa Teresa is Governor Greg Abbott of Texas has ordered Texas DPS to inspect all freight, all 18-wheelers or commercial traffic under the guise of public safety. It's understanding what he's done because he's done it across all the border entries in Texas, where they were stopping all trucks that were coming across the border looking for anything, right, for drugs, for smuggling intent, et cetera, which they found nothing during that time. And in anything hindered commercial traffic across the border, which was why the government of Mexico, as well as many companies, started to take notice of Santa Teresa. They are now stopping all traffic. It doesn't have to be, they don't know that it's coming, if it's international traffic or not, but they are stopping traffic coming across from New Mexico into Texas, accessing the interstate and highways. And it's very disturbing, it's very frustrating. While I know here as a Doña Ana County Commission, you know, we're not gonna sway Governor Greg Abbott, but I hope that we can continue to bring that awareness to our state government and try to work on something. I know we've had the assistance of DASO as well as our state police in trying to help get traffic moving, but to no avail. Texas DPS and the governor of Texas has continued to impede that. So just wanted to ask and see whatever we can do. I know we're working as a county to try to help that, but just wanted to express my displeasure with the state of Texas and their actions. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Sanchez. Is there another commissioner that would like to provide input? Commissioner Sheldo Hernandez.
Thank you, Chair Chaparro. I just wanted to take this moment just to say that I'm very excited to be up here and represent not just the people of District 1, but the people of Doña Ana County. I'm excited, motivated, and energetic, and I hope that I can bring a fresh perspective and maybe some new eyes on things that go on in the county and offer a different opinion up here, and I'm excited to have been elected vice chair of the commission. I'm very excited for that leadership role, and I'm excited for what is to come. So I just wanted to say thank you for joining us today. Thank you to all the commissioners up here on the dais with me for trusting me to be vice chair, and I'm excited to learn and take the bull by the horns. So I'm excited. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Sheldon Hernandez. Commissioner Murillo, anything to add?
Yes, I wanted to welcome Commissioner Sheldon Hernandez, and I hope that we can work together. But I do want to say something to all the commissioners starting off this new year, that if we have anything, any questions regarding any of the head departments or any information, that we meet with the county manager beforehand, before the meetings, for us not to attack our head departments or pressure them or ask them questions. Be kind to them and, do it before the meeting, not to attack them in front of the audience. That doesn't look nice. And if I see that or hear anything, I will speak up. So I ask of all of us to be respectful to anyone that comes to the podium. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Murillo, and I'd like to echo those sentiments, Commissioner, and also add to the members of the public that when we speak to each other, that we conduct ourselves appropriately. These commissioners, we commissioners, are working hard to address any issues in the county, and we ask that you respect us as we respect you. Thank you. Commissioner Reynolds, anything to add?
Not at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Reynolds. Well, we'll move forward to the minutes. That's agenda item number 2, the regular BOCC meeting minutes for December 13th of 2022. May I have a motion? I have a motion by Commissioner Murillo to accept the minutes for December 13th, 2022, and a second by Commissioner Sheldon Hernandez. Any discussion or changes to the minutes? Commissioners? None? Thank you. Amanda, may I please have a roll call?
Commissioner Murillo,
Yes.
Commissioner Reynolds,
Yes.
Commissioner Sanchez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Sheldon Hernandez,
I will abstain.
Chair Chaparro.
Yes. Thank you. The minutes for December 13th, 2022 are approved. We will now move forward to presentations and proclamations. Number 3, proclaim January 16, 2023 as Martin Luther King Day in Doña Ana County. May I please have a motion?
I'll move approval.
Second.
Thank you. There's a motion by Commissioner Sanchez, a second by Commissioner Reynolds. Any discussion regarding this? Mr. Macias, would you read the proclamation, please?
Madam Chair, I believe that there's some preliminary comments from Commissioner Sanchez.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Macias. Every year we're proud to recognize the contributions of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And I think having a holiday to remind us, while it's convenient, I think we always need to have that. We should be having this type of reminder in everything that we do. We continue to learn about those in our African-American community and highlighting their valuable contributions, big and small, to our society and our culture, even here locally in Doña Ana County. One can still see Dr. King's influence and legacy in the way people across the world protest injustice, seek equal and fair treatment, voicing their concerns, challenging the status quo, and even in quoting what the many things that he said during his time on this earth. One of the things, I know he didn't say this, I think this is a paraphrased statement, but it's attributed to him, which was, it was said that our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter. And the reason I want to bring that saying up, that quote, that paraphrase up, because for us as county commissioners, we have a unique opportunity in the county to be able to bring things up, raise awareness, pass ordinances. There's so much that we can do in these roles as elected officials, as county commissioners. And one of the things that I know we talk about Dr. King as in inequality for those of people of color, but he did so much more. And, you know, for trying to fight against poverty. And that's one thing that we still struggle with here in Doña Ana County. We look at our communities. And so his work, his life, his contributions that he gave to us means so much more, especially here in Doña Ana County. And so that's where I hope that as I challenge us as county commissioners to not be silent on the things that we see here in Doña Ana County. And so today we have one of our local leaders, Jamar Cotton. He's a coordinator for the Doña Ana County chapter of the Martin Luther King Jr. Youth Development Program. He's also a sergeant within the Doña Ana County Sheriff's Office, which we thank him for his work for our community. And so I'd like to welcome Sergeant Cotton, if you'd like to come up and say a few words. And while you're on your way up, Mr. Macias, I would like to see if you would read the proclamation as well.
Certainly. Whereas 100 years after President Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, the Baptist minister and civil rights leader, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., shared his vision of an America lifted from the quicksands of racial injustice to the solid rock of brotherhood on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial. And whereas Dr. King used the power of his words and nonviolent resistance through protests, civil disobedience, and organizing to achieve change as he fought for dignity, equality, jobs, and citizenship for Black men and women. And whereas Dr. King's message in the 1960s still rings true today and resonates with Doña Ana County residents across our nation and the world, despite the tension, uncertainty, and challenges that persist, we commemorate Dr. King's legacy. We recognize the importance of Black men and women whose efforts reinforce the tenets of Dr. King for the betterment of our communities. And whereas we are proud of programs like Martin Luther King Jr. State Commission and its Youth Leadership Program. The program not only educates on the life and works of Dr. King, but also seeks to groom the next generation of advocates, policymakers, and civic-minded community members who are educated and prepared to address issues of injustice and disproportionate use of force and deeply rooted systemic inequalities Dr. King spoke so passionately about. And whereas in Doña Ana County, we honor Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy and realize that we have more work to do, we seek to support organizations like the Doña Ana County NAACP that will host a Martin Luther King rally at 2 p.m. on Sunday, January 15th, at the Plaza de las Cruces, where Jamar Cotton will be the keynote speaker, and its annual breakfast at 8 a.m. Monday, January 16th, at the Las Cruces Convention Center, both events which are open to the public. Now, therefore, the Doña Ana County Board of Commissioners does hereby proclaim the 16th day of January as Dr. Martin Luther King Day. Madam Chairwoman, a proclamation for the consideration of the commission.
Is there anything else that any commissioner would like to add to that?
Madam Chair, could I just note for the record that we have, I believe, you're still the president of the local NAACP.
Dr. Green.
Dr. Green is here in the audience, and she's always exceedingly eloquent, and I hope that she will compliment Mr. Cotton's words today.
Thank you, Mr. Cotton.
Greetings, commissioners, and everybody on the side of my voice. First, I want to say, Commissioner Sanchez, thank you for your words. And I want to add, so a year ago, Dr. Bobby Green, the president of the NAACP, came to me with a proposition, knowing how I enjoy providing service to my community and how well I'm involved with the youth, to be the coordinator of the MLK Commission here in Doña County. I thought it was a great opportunity to bridge a lot of gaps within our community, and to also give the youth a mentor that has positivity, love, and understanding that diversity and the open heart and open mindedness was needed to help bridge gaps and bring our communities together. We have a large community of youth within our community that needs understanding, that needs attention, and that needs us to be willing to step forward to give them what they need. A lot of times we refer to our youth as our future, but they can't be our future if we don't address them now. And so with the help of Dr. Green and Ms. Beverly from Albuquerque, we were able to get the leadership program started here last year. Due to COVID, it started off slow, but we had 12 kids who started off with the program last year. They represented Las Cruces at the state conference in Albuquerque. And I'm honored to say that this year, Las Cruces will host the State Youth Leadership Conference in June here. We're on our second year, and we aim to, with the company of the Las Cruces Public Schools, have 100 students this year. And Las Cruces Public Schools are working with us to have us host at Oregon High School in Central. Those will be our host schools this year. And we aiming for, again, 100 students to represent Las Cruces for the conference. And we're gonna open registrations for youth 12 to 18 years of age to sign up next month. Well, this month, we'll have the meetings. So we look forward to expanding this opportunity. But it doesn't stop here. We want to move it all throughout the county, the southern parts of the county, each and every place that we can get it. Because at the end of the day, our community can't be better if we don't step up and do what we need to do to guide our youth before they become adults.
Thank you, Deputy. Thank you for your eloquence. And please let us know if this commission can help you in any way. And please invite us to your youth leadership conference in June.
Definitely will. So I'll be in contact with Downey to make sure that everyone has a schedule of the events that's coming up, because it would be awesome to have some of you come out and be facilitators for some of these classes that we have, because again, it takes a community to do it. It's about everybody, not about one person, but all of us together can make a difference.
Yes, sir. And I do note that you mentioned the southern part of the county, and Commissioner Murillo is certainly very knowledgeable about the youth in that community and has mentioned it to me several times. So I think she would be a huge asset.
Thank you. I look forward.
Thank you. Dr. Green, so good to see you.
Happy New Year. Chair Chaparro, my own Commissioner and Vice Chair, Shalvo Hernandez, Commissioner Reynolds, Commissioner Sanchez, Commissioner Murillo, and Manager Macias. I am so proud of my third Vice President of the NAACP and Youth Ambassador, Sergeant Jamar Cotton. I have watched him when he was a young man, maybe he's still a young man, but when he came to NMSU as a football star, and I saw something special in him, and I knew there was something special about this young man. I watched him evolve through the years. I watched him get his education. I have watched him become a father. I have watched him become a role model for young men of color specifically through the years, and you can see the evidence of his work. He will be the keynote speaker at our Martin Luther King breakfast on Monday morning at 8 a.m. at the Convention Center, and tickets are still available if you would like to attend. I want to thank Commissioner Reynolds for purchasing tables for our young people. And so if you are not able to attend, there's a young person who might be able to take advantage of that ticket. So please, that's a shameless plug, but thank you for the opportunity. I just want to say that this year's theme, Dr. King spoke of two Americas. He spoke of those two Americas in 1968, shortly before he was assassinated. But it is amazing how clairvoyant he was, because never have I in my lifetime seen more division, more vitriol, and definitely two Americas. But Dr. King also left us some very valuable wisdom and instructions about how we can reach across, how we can show love, primarily love. He said, I've decided to go with love because hate is too big a burden to bear. And so he talked about the principles of nonviolence. We know that gun violence, Commissioner Sanchez spoke about it earlier, elected leaders homes being shot at, unthinkable, unacceptable. And part of the problem is because we have two Americas. So our theme this year talks about Dr. King's principles of nonviolence. Those principles, we all know what they are: love, courage, faith, friendship, education, transformation. Those things we can all do. That doesn't cost us anything. And we don't have to rely upon our legislators to come up with sensible gun legislation, because it's not likely to happen. But we can always show love. Doesn't cost us anything, and it might change the heart of somebody who has ill intent. So that is what we're talking about this weekend. We're going to have a rally on Sunday at 2 p.m. after church, so at the Downtown Plaza. So please come to the rally and hear some of our community leaders that will talk about these principles of nonviolence. It's so important, and yet it's so simple and such common sense. So we hope that we can spread the word. That's the goal this year, is to spread the word, the principles of nonviolence, the love, the courage, the friendship. Can we do that? We can do that. All of us can do that. So that is my goal for this year's MLK commemoration. I hope you will join us. I want to say thank you always for your support and your generosity. The proclamations are always beautiful, and this year I think it's more important than ever, as Commissioner Sanchez pointed out. It's dangerous to do otherwise. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Green.
Is this photo opportunity time?
Photo. No, it's voting time.
Gotta vote.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak on this issue? No?
Madam Chair, I would just like to bring to the attention again that there is one school, and they've appeared here in front of the commission before, but there's a high school here in town, the New America High School, that actually is in school on that Monday. But the whole purpose of that day is to have all of the student body go out to perform public service in honor of the legacy of Martin Luther King. Again, I think it's very special. Sometimes the media does pay attention to that effort, but I just wanted to reinforce that there is additional recognitions that occur that really represent the spirit of our former fallen leader.
Thank you, Mr. Macias. And if there's no other person to add to this proclamation, I'd like to ask for the vote. Please, Amanda.
Commissioner Murillo,
Yes.
Commissioner Reynolds,
Yes.
Commissioner Sanchez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Shaljo Hernandez,
Yes.
and Chair Chaparro.
Yes. And Mr. Macias? Vote is 5-0.
Thank you.
And Commissioners, real quick, I'd just like to introduce two others. So we have Paul Johnson and Cindy Pitts. They're all also two mentors within the program who help out within Doña Ana County to make sure that we get the youth in the right direction.
Thank you very much, and it's nice to meet you, and thank you for all the work you do in our community. We are so appreciative.
And this is my wife that's hiding. and soon to be here.
Congratulations.
Thank y'all.
Thank you. And now the commission will move forward with a presentation. That's agenda item number 4, presentation to discuss El Paso Electric Payment Center closings.
Good morning, Madam Chair. My name is Eric Montgomery. I'm the Regional Director for Government Affairs for El Paso Electric. We are here today at your request as a follow-up to the December 13th County Commission, where we came to announce the restructuring of our payment centers. A lot of this is really due to new technologies and new advancements that we are implementing as an electric utility. Key appointment to this process. Our utility was the first electric utility in New Mexico to be approved for the deployment of AMS, Advanced Meter Systems, generally known as smart meters. That is causing a shift and refocus with new technologies, come new implementations, and as part of that, a retooling for some of our staff. So in response to the announcement about the closing of the payment centers, we have brought our team to answer some questions that you have and talk a little bit more in depth about that. I'd like to introduce Mr. Robert Heimer, who is our Director for Customer Care, to talk more about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Montgomery, and welcome, Mr. Heimer.
Good morning, Madam Chair and Commissioners. It's nice to be with you today. For the discussion and the presentation that we're going to talk about, I want to kind of set the stage, kind of like Eric was mentioning, that over the next 3 to 5 years, El Paso Electric is looking at transforming the energy landscape. And that also means enhancing and improving the customer experience. And so when we look at the information that our customers want, the different types of experiences that we're going to provide to them, we also have to look at how we're providing those services today and what we may need to do. Sometimes there's some decisions we need to make to retool or reshape the way that we provide those services so that we can continue to add more value in the future. Okay. So on this first slide, I'm just going to kind of go over a little background to start with kind of how the customer service branches look today. We have 2 branches in Doña Ana County, one in Las Cruces and one in Anthony. We also have 2 branches that are in Texas, one downtown El Paso and one in Fabens. They're open 8 to 4:30, Monday through Friday. And we have, at that we offer, customers are able to come in and make a payment towards their utility bill. They're also able to talk with customer service representatives about if they're wanting to start service or maybe if they have questions about their bill. We handle those kind of inquiries as well. Majority of our customer traffic that we see, the volume over the years has been mainly on phones, over the phone, but also has been growing on online services, as well as about a year ago we started chat service, and we've been seeing that grow as well. And then email is another way that they can contact us. In the branches, we have 21 employees that are staffing those 4 branches. And so those positions are going to be repurposed. As I mentioned earlier, we're not looking, we're looking at making sure that everyone that currently works at the branch can successfully transition to other channels. And as I mentioned, as we saw the phones and the email and the chat, as that's been increasing, that demand has caused wait times for customers that are trying to reach us through the phones and email. And so by utilizing this staff, we're going to see an improvement in the service levels that we offer customers that are trying to reach us in those channels. The payments that can be made is cash, check, credit, and debit. At the branches today, there's no fee for customers if they're paying by cash or check. There is a fee for credit and debit. And closing the branches, one of the things that we're looking at, again, is, yes, the cost, but it's not necessarily just about cost. There's a cost savings component of this, but what we're also talking about is really looking at when we look at where are customers trying to reach us and where is that demand and how do we best meet that demand, it's really on the phones and it's really, again, on email and chat. And so we're looking at really just kind of like realigning the staff according to the way that our customers are trying to reach us. Also, with the future, we're wanting to add additional value to our customers in different services, and we really can't do that unless we have the resources that are needed to support that. And so by, again, reutilizing those 21 employees, we're going to be able to do more for our customers than we're offering today. And the last bullet is really just talking about there are other electric companies, and really not just electric companies, other companies also that have closed their local offices, kind of really for the same reasons that they've seen the volume have been really moving towards either digital or over the phone. And the pandemic, I think, was one of the big changes for us. I think before the pandemic, we saw a good amount of volume at the branches. Since the pandemic, when we closed our lobbies, that volume really went away. And then when we reopened our doors after the pandemic, the volume is considerably lower than it was before the pandemic. Okay, this slide is one of the surveys that we do for our customers. We do annual surveys asking our customers a variety of questions about how we're doing for them and our customer service and how they want to interact with us. This slide is showing that for residential customers across our service territory, we ask them, how do you prefer to contact El Paso Electric when you need to get a hold of us? And so the largest response was phone calls, followed by email and online through our website. Kind of towards the right hand, you can see the third from the last is fourth from the last, visit a local office at about 7%. So that's both their primary and secondary choice combined is about 7% of customers prefer to use the branches. And similarly, on the small commercial side, we kind of see the same breakdown where really the demand, the preference is to make sure that customers can reach us when they need us over the phone, or if they need to maybe view their bill or if they have questions about their bill, how else can they get a hold of us? They really want to go online to our website. They want to contact us through email and even live chat. This is a breakdown of the different payment options that we provide to our customers. And this is actually like after the branch is closed, what are the options available? So we did a press release on December 2nd, and since then our branch representatives have been speaking about this kind of information to customers as they come in. Also, our call centers over the phone have been answering customer questions about really what are the other options. And so I think what I want to point out here is that I think a lot of times what we were seeing is the customers that come into the branches, they've done that over time, over years. It's kind of like a tradition, kind of part of their routine to come to the branches. And so when we started explaining these other payment options, it was kind of new information for them. They weren't aware of some of these other convenient and easy to use options. And so through the discussion, they've been able to walk away saying, okay, well, that would work for me. I can do that. For example, some of the things you'll see on here, we have 4 kiosks throughout our service territory. 2 of them are in Las Cruces. And those kiosks, if you pay by cash, there's no convenience fee, so no charge for that. But it also does take check, credit, and debit. And the kiosk that's located outside of our current branch on Water Street It's outside of the building, so it's available 24/7. So if customers need to come and pay their bill, maybe after work or on the weekends, that would be available for them. And also mail is still a very common method to pay the bill. Most customers still pay through a check in the mail. And the 60 cents that we put there for the payment fee, we actually don't charge a fee for mail payments. That is actually like the cost of like a stamp for the postage to mail in the payment. But in terms of on our side, it is free to pay your bill through the mail. And then the other one that I think is worth noting is the auto pay that we offer, which is the first option. Again, there's no payment fee for that. So for customers who have a checking or savings account, you can set up your account. You can either do it online or you can call over the phone and we'll go ahead and set that up for you. And that way, you don't have to remember about it. So every month you don't have to worry about any kind of like late notices or anything. And it'll go through and there's no payment processing fee on that one at all. So as I mentioned, over the last month or so, we've been already engaging in these kind of conversations with our customers, whether it be over the phone or in person as they come into the branch offices. And I just wanted to highlight maybe some of the things that we've been hearing and give some responses to that. So for example, the branches today, I think, are looked at as a convenient option for some customers. And I agree with that. I mean, this is something we had to think about when we talked about closing the branches is who are the customers that we're impacting and how do we make sure that we have options for them going forward so that we don't leave them without options. And so really, again, talking to customers, I think it's more about just awareness of all the options we do offer. That's not to say that our options are all perfect today. I think that, we are aware that there's always room for opportunity and improvement in the services that we provide, and that includes our payment options. So we'll continue to, have a listen to the voice of our customer and make sure that we create new opportunities in the future if that's what they're asking for. But right now, again, like automatic payments, and then we do have also a variety of in-person payment locations throughout our service territory. We partner with two specific companies today that provide that service for us, Western Union and Check Free Pay. And both of them have stations that are set up at a lot of common areas. I think on the next slide, I'll have some actual addresses that we can look at of places like Walmart's and Dollar General and different grocery stores where customers can go when maybe they're going to buy some groceries, they can go in and pay their electric bill at that same time. And for customers that either prefer to pay in cash or maybe that's their only option, they're either unbanked or underbanked, we again have options for them. We have 2 kiosks, as I mentioned, in Donna Ana County. And then we also have those Western Union and Check Free payment locations. I think the difference here, though, is that there is a fee for using the Western Union and Check Free. It's $1 for Western Union and $1.50 for Check Free. So that is different from what they experience today. When they come into the branch, there's no charge for that. But again, if they visit one of our kiosks, there's also no charge for those cash payments. And as far as the employees, that was another big change because the employees that we have staffed at the branches today, they've also been working at the branches for years, and they've done an excellent job for us. We're very proud of the work that they've done to service our customers and your citizens. They have relationships with the customers. Customers will come in and bring them, treats and gifts, and they talk, how are your kids? And so there's a big relationship there, and we understood that was going to be a big impact as well. So we've worked really hard to make sure that we have training, development, and a grace period for our customer service representatives as they kind of transition from dealing in person with customers to over the phone, chat, and email. Some of them have done it before, and some of them this will be new. But we also, we have an existing contact center, so we're really partnering them up and making sure that we support them as they move through it. They've had some time to kind of, process this change, and we've already started engaging with them on these new opportunities. And I think that on the most part, they understand it and they're willing to work through this with us. And one of the benefits I think that they're going to see too is they'll be able to work from home, which is something that they haven't been able to do before. And so I think that'll provide them some extra benefits as well. And this last slide is really just kind of showing again some of the different options. This is not a all-inclusive list. There are several other payment options out there locally in the community. But for some of these, we just kind of chose some of maybe the bigger names that could be used to help people understand really what are the options. I think a lot of these are located pretty well throughout the territory so that maybe some customers will find out they actually don't need to drive as far. If this is how they prefer to pay, they won't need to drive as far to where our existing branch is. They can go to maybe a closer nearby store. Okay. And I'll be available if you have any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Heimer. Do any members of the commission have questions? Commissioner Reynolds?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think there's the slide where it shows customer payment options after branch closures. I think Rico forgot to put some information on this one. I know it's his responsibility. I guess one of the things I'm asking is looking at the automatic payment online, these are the options that you're offering newly. You showed distribution of contact from customers and commercial customers. You didn't show what was being currently used in order to make the payments. And in listing that, also like the branch locations, it would have been nice to have on this chart here to actually tell us how many payments are made automatically, kind of a percent, how many are online, third parties, just to give us some idea of what kind of impact it's going to have on the customers who were going to do the cash options at the locations. I think that's something I would have liked to see. I'm assuming, and I kind of would conclude that that's probably a very small percentage when you consider how many people actually go to the branches to make contact. And I would assume that's also including the payment trips to the branches. Am I right, correct?
That's correct. I can elaborate on that, Madam Chair and Commissioner.
Yeah.
The branches, again, about 5% of all of our payments are moving through the branch offices. That's across all of our service territory.
Okay.
When we look at that 5%, we kind of break that down between maybe checking, cash, and credit. We do see that checking is actually the largest percentage, about 60% of that. And then next is cash. And then credit card is a smaller percentage.
I kind of concluded that based on the other information you provided, but I still, on that sheet, it would have been nice to have that laid out here too, so we would see the direct impact on the ability for people to pay, which is what we were concerned about mostly. Okay. But thank you. This is a good presentation. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Reynolds. Any other comments by commissioners?
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you, Mr. Heimer, for presenting for us today. I do have a few questions, and the first question is, what are your call-in phone hours currently?
The call center is open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., Monday through Friday. Chat is available from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. temporarily. We will go back to 7 p.m., but we had some resourcing challenges there. And email, we asked for one business day turnaround time on that. And then online, we do offer self-service over the phone and online, so customers can access that 24/7.
Awesome. And then since since El Paso Electric is reducing costs by closing these in-person sites, do you see phone operating hours extending into the weekend?
Into the weekend?
Mm-hmm.
That's something that we can look at. That hasn't been part of the plan at the moment. So that's something that we can look at.
Okay, and how are you passing on those savings onto the ratepayers?
So I think I would say that in two ways. The overall, again, as I mentioned, the cost savings, number one, is going to be realized when we close the branches. We won't have some of the costs that required to keep those open. Everything from bank fees to facilities costs and all of that. So we'll see that that is in our customer service costs. And those costs are calculated or incorporated in our base rates. So that would be when we look at maybe evaluating our rate structure in the future. That's when that, I think, would be realized. Secondly, you want to add to that?
Madam Chair, Commissioners, to extend off of that, I think to say a 1 versus 1 to where customers may see an automatic rate change or deduction simply because of the closing of these centers is not going to realize the full issue of where we are with the economy. We have seen costs increase for maintenance of lines and additional equipment, where some of those costs have actually grown by over 10% over the last year, sometimes much higher than that. And so looking at a base rate just on one issue is going to be a little bit difficult to say that the customers will be guaranteed a reduction in rates. Certainly, all costs are considered, and when we have cost savings, those are certainly brought into base rate conversations. But I just didn't want to leave the conversation where ratepayers could expect a reduction in rates with all things considered. So thank you.
Awesome. And with that, I think that the savings can also be maybe more 24-hour kiosks within the county. Those are kind of savings that is gas savings, time savings, especially if you have a family. But one thing that I do want to point out, and I pointed this out last night to Mr. Montgomery, is one of your ways to pay is Western Union. And I know that there's a lot of fraud being committed, not by El Paso Electric, but by third-party entities towards consumers, ratepayers, to where they're getting phone calls maybe on the weekend saying, you know, we're going to come and shut off your electric bill unless you go to your local Western Union and make a payment. And without weekend hours or emails that are being answered on the weekend or a way to contact El Paso Electric, those individuals are at the will of what they can find out online. And I don't think that's exactly doing justice to the residents of Doniana. And I know that, you know, it happens a lot. It happens a ton here locally, especially in our aging communities or maybe people that don't have access to broadband, where they can't go online right then and there and find out that information. Or maybe they can't go online and figure out, because you do get locked out of your El Paso Electric online account after so many failed attempts, and then you have to call in to get it unlocked. Well, if you can't call in on a weekend and it's locked, and you don't want your air conditioner to go out or your fridge to go out because they're going to turn off your electric, even though we know that you don't do that on weekends, disconnects. I think there needs to be, I'm worried that there should be a way to contact El Paso Electric on the weekends to resolve a lot of this, because that's a lot of money that someone could get conned out of by a third party. And that really does concern me, because that is one of your authorized ways to pay. So if you go online and you're like, there's no way El Paso Electric's going to allow Western Union, but it does. So to a uninformed or misinformed user, consumer, all signs would point to, yes, you should go pay that bill if you can't get a hold of someone. So that's a concern of mine, taking away that in person, is that there's a lack of transparency and communication on that front. So I would definitely say that I would love to see weekend hours on the phone. So that way we can curb some of that for the residents of Doniana County. And I would also love, by the savings of these in-person things, to see more 24-hour payment boxes, especially in the southern part of the county, the northern part of the county, where maybe I know Walmart was one of them. Well, Walmart's not 24/7 anymore, so you can't go in there, and these banks aren't 24/7. So if you work a day job and you don't get out of work until 8 or 9 at night, you're at the will of whatever it may be. So those are my concerns, and I'm passing them on to you, and I hope that we can work that out for your ratepayers in Doniana County. Thank you. Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Shelder. And on this, any other comments by the board?
Madam Chair, I do
Commissioner
have
Murillo.
a request if maybe Mr. Montgomery can send me an email, because on the packet, it doesn't have the locations. And so we can be able to distribute to the constituents in Anthony, Chaparral, Sunland Park, and they know where they go, because we do have a lot of constituents that don't have internet or they're not computer savvy, or, they rather do old school, go pay, in person. So if I can be able to get it, because we did see the locations, but it's not in our packet. So if you can do that for us, please.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, Commissioner Murillo, I would be happy to send each of you an email that outlines locations within your respective districts or nearby your districts that will outline both the business locations and the addresses, and we will get that out to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Commissioner Murillo. Commissioner Sanchez.
Thank you. Oh, Mr. Gonzalez.
Yeah, I had one comment. Rico Gonzalez with El Paso Electric. First of all, congratulations on the new chair. That's fantastic. And the vice chair, I mean, you come in, you're here for a day, and you're second in command. That's fantastic. So I wanted to say something about the fraud. It is an issue that all utilities are dealing with on a consistent basis. And one of the things that I'm proud of at El Paso Electric is that we have worked with other utilities to get the word out on the fraud issues that we see. I've received the calls myself, and they're, you need to pay now, and if you don't, we're gonna cut you off in 10 minutes. My mother has received them as well. So it is something that we're very cognizant of and understanding. And the concepts of the weekend is something that we're definitely going to have to take into consideration as we move forward on that end. And one other thing that I wanted to mention, because I didn't hear it mentioned, and maybe it was. If it was, I apologize. But our presentations and all of our information that's going out is in both Spanish and English as we move forward. And inside of our call centers, we have both languages that are used and spoken in to help customers out. So just a real quick note on that. So, okay.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. Chairman, I'm sorry, Commissioner Sanchez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a question. I know you had a couple of surveys on the presentation. How many customers does El Paso Electric have?
450,000.
450,000, and the end that you're looking at is 1,020, and they think the other one 291. So I don't know that that's a broad perspective of what's going on, and that's why I'm kind of curious on the survey. Didn't seem like you got a good sample of what's really going on. I would love to understand what is it in your rural areas in particular that you're seeing in terms of payment, because I would anticipate that what you see in the city of Las Cruces versus what you see in Hatch or the southern part of the county, or even in the rural areas in El Paso County, are completely different than what you're going to see in Las Cruces and El Paso. So that aside, I understand, like I said, I think as the way we're seeing it, is that we're increasing the number of places people can make payments. What I would love to see, I just happened to pull up kind of an example of your kiosk and what you're doing. And I think as to Vice Chair Sheldon Hernandez is saying, what I would love to see, and this is what I think some of the local banks in El Paso have done, is a virtual teller. So that way, you're not just at a machine, but if you had someone that you can say, hey, I've got this issue, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, there's at least some sort of interaction, especially on the weekends, because if I'm not mistaken, these aren't outside, these are inside the El Paso Electric building and inside the Las Cruces Utilities building. So people still have limited access to these kiosks, correct?
One is outside of the Water Street location, so
Okay.
that one's 24/7.
What I mean, I said, I appreciate, I would love to see these maybe expand and not have to go to a Family Dollar or a Dollar General or something like that, where these are your kiosks in, say, Hatch. I know, like I said, you can go to Jim's Supermarket and make a payment there, but if you had one of these kiosks there, then there's no question that they have to go through Western Union or something else. I don't know if that's something El Paso Electric can look to do, but I feel like there's that trust factor that if people don't want to call, do an online payment or anything like that, they can go and have these kiosks and to go make that payment. Like I said, I would love for there to be that ability to call somebody at the kiosk as well, so that way they know, oh, this is still my El Paso Electric connection. But if there's a way, I would, like I said, if I could make that request, that El Paso Electric look to deploy the kiosks in more places so that it's visible and there's no question on where is this going. And I think having the technology allows you all to do that. I would personally love to see you guys put it into almost every, like it is with Las Cruces Utilities. Can you look to put one in other utility payments through the water authorities here in Doña Ana County? And that way, if I know I'm gonna go pay my water, I can go pay my electric bill. If I can go pay my trash, I can go pay my electric bill. So anyways, I just, like I said, I understand you, El Paso Electric's, when you're doing a big change like this, it's always it can be viewed as negative. I can see the other side of trying to show that there's more access to being able to make payments, but I want to make sure that it's done in which, again, like the vice chair had said, you're doing it in a way that there's no question that it's going to El Paso Electric and people have access, because while I have not had my electricity turned off, I have had my online access revoked over the weekend. And so I know that struggle that I have to wait until the weekday. And then full transparency, I do have one of my local banks I have is through in El Paso. So they get the payment for El Paso Electric and it's automatic and I can see that. So I know that's there, but like I said, just want to make sure that all of our residents have the ability to make sure that they know they're making a payment to El Paso Electric and they have that direct line to you guys, because if we have no electricity, man, it obviously for every one of us, if it's in the summer, if it's in the winter, in those extremes, it causes a huge issue. And I know there's moratoriums. I'll add that I know there's moratoriums by the state, but like I said, anytime anybody's without electricity, it's a huge inconvenience, and for those, for some, it can be life-threatening. So.
Maybe just two quick responses to that. I think you're correct that we don't want to generalize all of our customers in one chart like this. We absolutely want to treat each customer individually, understand what are their needs, and make sure that we offer services for them. So we are looking at making sure that we have those. The kiosks, like you mentioned too, that is in line with kind of the future of where we're looking at is how can we be in the community so that we're not just online, but doing it in ways like you mentioned about.
I mean, it makes, like I said, I mean, I understand. And I think this kiosk, the remote kiosk thing is actually one of the best ways that we're seeing in some of our, in local government, that's probably some of the best way that we can connect with those in our rural counties, because our rural parts of our county, because not everybody can make it from Salem to Hatch easily, just as an example, right? But if we had a way in which they don't have to travel as far and can access a payment center, I'll throw my pitch in here for county services, if they had a way that which they can do that as well. Like I said, the technology is we're getting there, and I think this is, like you're saying, it's the way in which we can really start connecting people with services. And it just happens, in this case, it's with you all, with El Paso Electric and making payments, so thank you. And absolutely, if we can get an electronic copy, I don't know if Eric's behind you there. If we can get an electronic copy of this, I think it'd be great, so that way we can send it out to our constituents. We're seeing a ton of people talking on Facebook, the Las Cruces Community Watch, I think KVIA or one of the local TV stations talking about it. But they're not, obviously, I think people don't take the time to read. So if there's a way to kind of put it out so we can start sharing it publicly, we can get that out there as well so that they know where to go and how to do it. That'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Sanchez. And I echo what Commissioner Sanchez and Vice Chair Sheldon Hernandez have stated. I have a question. Do the kiosks make change?
Do they disperse change?
Yes.
To the whole dollar. So if you have to pay $1.82, it doesn't do coin, so it'll just, it'll dispense dollars, so it'll round up. It'll say then your payment is $2.
And so it'll credit it to the account.
Yes.
Right. Another concern that I have is, will any changes that go out to the public, va a ser en español el cual se puede entender? Because oftentimes I see, well, I work with a lot of people that are illiterate and are Spanish speaking, and so the directions given in Spanish are at such a high register that they are not understood by the public. And so I think it's incumbent upon El Paso Electric to make instructions at kiosks, at banks, at wherever people will be making payment in Spanish that is understandable to this region. And I think that's just so important. And I think that's all I have to say about that, but that's one of my concerns.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Madam Chair, just to follow up as well, thank you, Mr. Gonzalez, for kind of echoing the issue of fraud with utilities, because it is a serious concern. Utilities scare people. As Commissioner Sanchez said, it can be sometimes life and death. You know, if my refrigerator goes out at my house, that's $400. Even though it's not going to happen on the weekend, it's still a concern. But also with things that can be done to help curb this would be even an answering service, or not an answering service, but a message on the phones, letting people know, you know, disconnects do not happen on the weekends. If this is being told to you over the phone, please hold until Monday. I think that could go miles as far as it goes with helping to curb fraud with utilities and that. And I'm glad that El Paso Electric's talking to a majority, if not a lot of different utility departments. I think that needs to be something that can be across the board. And maybe that's something that we as a commission can start talking to the PRC about for future implementation, is doing something like that on the weekend to help all New Mexicans with this kind of an issue. And then also, I was looking at the list of locations, and I think it was said, and I just wanted to echo that, is getting with the municipalities within Doña County to have the municipalities maybe have some kind of training or something to be able to help residents process payments. Maybe even in the community centers doing something with online access to go in and be able to do that. I think that would be a really great use of ingenuity. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Sheldon Hernandez. Any other comments by the board?
Madam Chair, and I do want to apologize. I didn't see the amended one of that in the packet. It doesn't have it, but this one does, the locations. But I mean, the email will still help. And so, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And congratulations again.
Thank you. And fellow commissioners, are we in agreement to take a break at this time
Yes, please.
before we address other things? Thank you. We'll be on a 10-minute break, please, at 11:12 and return at 11:22. Thank you.
going? How are you? That was loud.
Lucio, isn't it cold in here? Lucio, come on. I thought I had you and then.
I saw Commissioner Chapato's breath up on the
Thank you, thank you.
This is a drama-free zone. I didn't add drama, I just stated fact and I'm walking away.
All right, now it's time for budget. See, Lucio, I'm on your side. I'm just like excited for budget. Get ready. How's it going? All right. It's about the same. Happy New Year. Any big New Year plans? Any resolutions? Oh, that's so sweet. All right. You're gonna give me everything I want, right? There's no problem with yours so far. Right. Great idea. Want to do it. Can't help it. Listen, after getting your FT6
Commissioners, are we ready to continue? We're back in session at 11:23 for the Doñana Board of County Commissioners meeting, and we will move on to agenda item number 5, fiscal year 2024 budget kickoff by Ms. Dawood. Welcome, Ms. Dawood.
Good morning, Commissioners. This is Asma Dawood, Financial Services Director. Today, we will go over the FY24 budget kickoff update. Fiscal year begins on July 1st. We are required to submit our preliminary budget by June 1st to Department of Finance and Administration, and we start with the new calendar year in January to start working on our new budget. So on Thursday, January 5th, we had a kickoff meeting for all departments, and we presented these assumptions that I'll be sharing with you today, and also some training to the departments to work on their budgets. All the departments would be submitting their budgets back to us in February. Today, I will go over our assumptions, the direction management has given them, and also a timeline, budget cycle, and due dates for this coming fiscal year's budget. On the assumption side, every year we look at our previous years and also discuss with DFA or the tax and revenue as needed and come up with our assumptions. For property taxes, we are expecting a 2.4 billion growth. This is based on discussion with the assessor's office, also looking at the property valuations and 3-year average collection rate. The gross receipt tax, we are expecting an increase of 12.2 million. That includes the current year increases as well as 2% increase for next fiscal year. It's 2% countywide and 2% in unincorporated areas. For equalization tax, we are going to decrease our budget by 2.8 million. For the current fiscal year, we had budgeted at 6.8 million based on what was received in prior year, but we did receive less. We received 4.3 million in this fiscal year, and next year we are keeping it at 4 million to be more conservative. So the total revenue assumption increases 11.8 million. On the major expenditures, our assumptions are for health insurance, we are expecting a 5.6% increase. The impact on the county budget will be 800,000. During spring, we get the actuals and we would make an adjustment accordingly. Union step increases are various contractually obligated increases. The total impact on our budget is about 800,000. The county para contribution is 0.5%. This is set up by para. The impact would be 410,000. And for the union unfilled position budgets, we are going to budget them at step 3. That would give an impact of 775,000. So our expenditure assumptions are at 2.8 million. That gives us a 9 million budget capacity. This can change during the budgeting process as we update them with actual figures. For example, when we receive the actual expenses, or if something changes, we will adjust it accordingly. On management direction, we have requested, we've worked with all departments, we've asked them to prioritize to make sure they request all the important needs for their department, and also for new positions or reclassifications, they would have to provide proper justification. Also, we would review their historical and current vacancy and staffing level before any requests are approved. We will continue to use vacancy factor because there are regular uncontrollable turnover situations, so we'll factor that into a budget so that our recurring revenues and expenditures match. So the departments would be submitting their budget packets to us by 10th February. We will review them during the month of February, work with departments if any questions or adjustments are needed. The department's budget office and county management will have meetings during the month of March, and if needed, we will have following meetings during the month of April. We would be coming before the board. We are planning a work session on April 25th, and if needed, another work session on May 9th. The preliminary budget is due to Department of Finance and Administration on June 1st. So on May 23rd meeting, we'll bring it before the board for approval. DFA gives us another 2 months. The final budget is due on 31st July. So our plan is to bring it on July 25th before the board for the final budget approval. Please let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Starwood. Do any of the commissioners have any questions?
Madam Chair?
Commissioner Sanchez.
I know this is our pretty standard timeline here. I know, Mr. Macias, I know we're planning a work session, look at the budget. What I would love to understand in that work session is, and maybe this is something prior to this, but when we look at what each of the departments are doing and what their priorities are, I would like to have the input from the commissioners as to their ideas of what they would like to address within the different programs, within the different departments, so that we can see, and I know that might be part of the preliminary review, just to understand, is there something that we can do or look to do to address in some of the, with what we're working with in the county. And it can be, like I said, when we look at the departments, I think that's where we would love to understand what their priorities are and see how, like I've mentioned about trying to see how we can further utilize our community centers for different things. I think that would be, like I said, I don't know if that work session would be the best place to do it, or maybe a previous one, just so that way it gives you and the staff time to try to see what's feasible, what's possible, and what is not, or what barriers we have.
And Madam Chairwoman, I certainly concur with as early a discussion as possible, and certainly as much input from the board as possible if we can go back just a couple of slides so that I can kind of show you what the issue is and why we're going to have this discussion. Go back to the amounts, that slide. I know that's very simplistic, but once you already have fixed costs of $2.8 million against $11.8 million, the commission is going to have $9 million to work with. And I'm sorry, but that doesn't go very far. It's probably more than what we've had, and it gives some flexibility. But once you start looking, because some of the cost or the expenditure assumptions give you some indication related to union-related activity, your consideration in terms of compensation increases for all county employees pulls that $9 million substantially lower. So it is critical that we have as much discussion as early as possible in terms of initiatives that the board is interested in. You'll certainly have from me soon all of the priorities within the different departments and the management goals, and certainly having an opportunity to give input to what else we need to be focused in or shifting the priority of what we're focused on. That should be occurring just as early as we possibly can.
Thank you, Mr. Macias. And I think the other part of it obviously is going to be hanging over this as well, is going to be the 60-day legislative session to understand, what funding is going to come in, what isn't coming in, and then obviously the BOCC will have to make that determination. So I know there's a lot of moving pieces, and that's where, like I said, I think if we can work with you and the staff to understand what's important, and we can understand what barriers we'll have going into this, and I think it'll make sure that we're ready to be able to have those. Sometimes there's going to be tough discussions with our constituents, and I think this will give us the information we would need to have those discussions.
And Madam Chairman, Madam Chairwoman, and Commissioner Sanchez, the upside for this board is, as we talk about this $9 million, that's potentially recurring money that you commit long-term. But we are at the highest level that we have ever been in terms of reserves. And it is now time to start spending those reserves down. And we do that by having a good understanding in terms of what assistance we're going to get from the legislature and perhaps the governor's focus as well. And then all of the different projects that potentially are on the board, everything from another road initiative to the district court to the Office of Emergency Management to continual upgrades in the facilities. All of those are issues, but at least you're in not the same kind of situation that the legislature is with $3.6 billion in new money to commit, but there are reserves there that have been built up with the intention of arriving at this day when give the commission more flexibility in terms of one-time commitments of money and capital improvements.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Sanchez. Any other questions by any commissioners? Commissioner Reynolds.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Looking at these budget assumptions and the revenue assumptions for $11.8 million, it looks like, well, the property taxes should not go down. I mean, they're probably going to continue at the rate they are. The gross receipts tax may be at risk, but as our economy is growing and increased prices are out there, I'm assuming that there's probably a good bet that that's going to happen, in 2024, 2025. It's not going to go down. And equalization tax, that's the only one that I don't understand. Is that one that's subject to also go down by 2.8 million or to go up, or what's that? How does that work?
Yes, so equalization tax is given to us by the state. So it depends on the per capita the state has received versus a county, and then they give it to the counties who have received slightly less than the state average. So in 2019, we had received 3.67 million In equalization, 2020, it was 4.5 million. 2021 was 4.8 million. And in 2022, we actually received 6.7. So it was considerably higher, because of which in FY23, we budgeted it at 6.8. We had a discussion with Tax and Revenue then, and they said that it would be okay to budget it similar to 2022. But what we actually received this year was 4.3 million. So, and now Tax and Revenue said that it was very high in 2022, but in the future years, they expect it to be similar to the past patterns. So we are budgeting for FY24 at 4 million. So from 6.8, we went to 4. That's why there is a 2.8 million decrease in our budgeted revenues for equalization.
So based on I'm hearing you, if I hear you correctly, you're saying that the 9 million that we're talking about here is going to be ongoing revenue. It's not going to, we shouldn't decrease our budget by 9 million based on the assumptions we made here in year 2024, 2025, 2026. It should remain high, I guess. And so this is money that if we did use it to do funding of a program to sustain a program over a period of 5, 10 years, we should have that revenue available to do it.
Yes, unless there is a downside to the economy.
Excellent, yeah.
Obviously, that's why I said the 9 million is you can commit to recurring costs.
Right, as opposed to like we did with the road initiative, which was a one-time cost, and we put that aside for 1 year, and then we allocated it over a period of 5 or 6 years to do it, 4 or 5 years to do it and use it. But that was one that was a one-time expense and not put into the budget on a yearly basis.
Right. No, that's why I'm indicating that from
correct.
the reserves, and that's where the road initiative money came from. But let me, if I can, very quickly describe for the commission the state equalization, just so that you kind of understand it. It's a composite of all of the gross receipts tax from across the state. And if you are above or below the medium, you get supplemental monies to offset the fact that you're not collecting as much gross receipts tax as other parts of the state, like in the southeast area. So we weren't going to get anything this year, and I think that that's part of what we're not mentioning to you. It took a really extreme effort on the part of both Ms. Dawood and Mr. Gooden to basically get the Taxation and Revenue Department, and I like to take some pride that we led that effort. When we were given a list of the equalization tax that was going to be coming into each county, I mean, it was a dramatic increase for the majority of the counties. And I couldn't understand why there wasn't an uproar coming from the association. We were losing substantial amounts of money. And it's because the Taxation and Revenue Department made an error in their calculations. Yeah. But we weren't going to get anything. And it was just really shocking because to take a hit of what we considered to be almost $5 to $6 million was throwing our planning into an area of concern to have lost that money. So, but after having various discussions and kind of pointing out the potential error that had been made, we salvaged 4.3 million. But our gross receipts taxes were so strong, it didn't stay consistent with the monies that we had been making in the past because we were making more gross receipts tax. But that's still a $2.8 million loss. I look at it as that we preserved 4.3 million, and that's part of our budget, and we were able to cover the other 2.8 million from enhanced gross receipts tax collection and another few sources of different money. So I think that still in terms of recurring money, we're in good shape, but $9 million is not a lot of money to build in for recurring expenses. So we do have to do it on a highly prioritized method.
Madam Chair, Mr. Macias, thank you for that explanation. And also Ms. Dawood and Mr. Gooden, thank you for actually going after that money. I remember the conversation 3 or 4 months ago that we talked about the fact that there was an error in the calculation by finance. And I appreciate your getting that money for us. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Reynolds. Any other questions or comments by the commissioners?
Madam Chair, I just have a question for Ms. Daywood. Thank you. I'm on the calendar that was provided, or the spreadsheet of the calendar that was provided. In this, you have December 5th, you email elected officials, department heads, and then you go to the budget kickoff, and then you present today. In any of these times, do you actually sit down with each department and go over budgetary? Yes, you do. Okay. When do those all happen? Is it before the December 5th or is it after?
So on January 5th, we had a virtual training for all departments, and the meetings that we have during the month of March and April. So March 1st to March 31st, we'll be sitting with each department with the county manager or the assistant county manager, the department and budget office, and discuss their budget in detail. We'll work with each department.
Okay, and with that, do we ever go over or look into any state budgeting opportunities or state monies that may be available outside of these budget assumptions with revenue and expenditures?
We're constantly doing that. We're looking for any opportunity to infuse additional revenue into the process.
And is that done within each department, or is that done as a county as a whole?
Well, the county as a whole, but looking at each different department in terms of who would be the recipient of any additional monies.
Okay.
So we have an ongoing effort to solicit grants and other sources of funding. Obviously, this legislative session, although it doesn't end till the middle of March, will give us a greater indication as to what monies might be flowing to the county from the state.
Okay, and that includes elected office as well?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And Madam Chair, forgive me, Commissioner Sheljo Hernandez reminded me of a point. This time, we're going to try to give all of the commission an indication of what every department is asking for, so that you can have a cheat sheet related to what the requests are as early as possible. That way it gives you an indication, because what these meetings are kind of an attempt to negotiate an agreed upon funding level for all of the departments, including the elected departments.
I like that. I think that's going to work well. Thank you, Mr. Macias. Any other questions from the commissioners? Thank you, Ms. Dawood. I appreciate your time. We'll move forward to consent agenda items 6 through 17. Before the board will be asked to approve by one motion the following items of reoccurring or routine business. Is there any item on the list that any commissioner would like to be pulled for further discussion? Hearing none, may I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Murillo, and the motion has been seconded by Commissioner Sanchez. Anything else, commissioners, before we vote? Thank you. Amanda, would you please call roll for the vote?
Commissioner Murillo,
Yes.
Commissioner Reynolds,
Yes.
Commissioner Sanchez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Sheljo Hernandez,
Yes.
and Chair Chaparro.
Yes.
Some of these consent agendas have resolution numbers. Item number 7, 2023-01. Item number 8, 2023-02. Item number 9, 2023-03. Item number 11 has 2023-04 and 2023-05. Item number 12, 2023-06. Item number 13, 2023-07. Item number 14, 2023-08. And item number 15, 2023-09.
Thank you. We will move forward now with approvals. Agenda item number 18, to accept reallocated funds from the U.S. Department of the Treasury for Emergency Rental Assistance 2 in the amount of $8.2 million with the associated budget revision and resolution. Excuse me. Is there a motion to accept the reallocated
I
funds?
make a motion that we accept the reallocated funds for the U.S. Department of Treasury for the Energy Emergency Rental Assistance 2 in the amount of $8.2 million
Thank
with
you.
associated budget revision and resolution.
Thank you, Commissioner Reynolds, for reading the entire thing. Do I have a second?
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Reynolds, second by Commissioner Sanchez. Ms. Dawood.
Yes, good afternoon. So while we are presenting, thank you for approving the item, and I would be talking a little bit about the emergency rental program. So with CARES Act, the Congress provided $25 billion for emergency rental 1 and $21.5 billion for emergency rental 2. So Donna Ana County received both those awards. We had received $9.6 million for ERA 1 from US Treasury, another $4 million as a sub-award from Department of Finance and Administration. So all $13.6 million for ERA 1 have been completely used. For ERA 2, we received $7.1 from US Treasury, and now another $8.2 million is being given to us as a reallocated funding from City of Albuquerque. So we have $15.34 for ERA 2. We have, for emergency rental 2, we have spent more than half of our first allocation of $7.1 million. Today, we are accepting an additional award of $8.27 million. These awards allow up to 15% admin cost. We have our office set up at the Picacho Plaza location, employees working on it. In addition to that, we can give up to 18 months of rent or utility assistance for those who qualify, who are below 80% AMI, and those who have suffered financial impact during the pandemic. We have completely used ERA 1 funds, which ended in 2022. For ERA 2, the first $7.1 million, we have spent more than 50%, and now we have this additional $8.2. So our balance remaining was $2.39 to give out in assistance. We have already helped over 3,500 people. We have given out more than $16 million in assistance for rental and utilities. Now with this new funding, our balance is up to $9.4 million to give out in assistance. Please let me know if you have any. We have helped over 3,500 families in this community. 3,500.
Thank you, Ms. Dawood. And I'd like to start with a comment. As you all know, I work at the courts, and so I am seeing the help that residents are getting, and it makes me quite happy. And I'd like to give a shout out to the staff that is making this possible. I know sometimes that people think the process is long, but it's really, at least in my mind, and I've discussed it with Vice Chair Sheljo Hernandez, it's keeping kids in a home where they're safe. And I think we need to remember that, commissioners, because the need is so great here in the county, and people don't always have homes. They live in mobile homes or RV places that are being rented out in Anthony and Chaparral. So we're keeping children in homes, and I'm just so glad for it. So thank you, and thank you to the staff that's working on this issue. I'm very happy about it. Any other comments from the commissioners?
Madam Chairwoman, if I just might note that there is a statewide recognition of what is occurring here in Doña Ana County and the success of the program. So we've already gotten out $16 million to 3,500 applicants. That's something almost unheard of here in Doña Ana County in terms of assistance to the community. Our operation would be winding down by May if we hadn't have gotten this infusion of $8 million. But we pursued it aggressively. The state recognized what is going on here in Doña Ana County, so they took a portion of that money that they received from the federal government and then transferred it to Doña Ana County so that we can apply it continue to apply it to residents here. So in the long run, we're going to if we spend down that 9 million that's still here in the building anymore, but if you go to Rendezvous to have lunch, their offices are in that suite of offices, so please stop in and extend your enthusiastic appreciation for their efforts, please.
Thank you, Mr. Macias, and you reminded me of something. If we can reach out again to the judges that are still issuing eviction notices and remind them that there's money left over for rental assistance and utility assistance, because I'm seeing an increase in evictions recently, and Mr. Macias, I'd mentioned that to you about a month ago. And so I think it's very important that we reach out to the judges once more to prevent families from being out on the street that need this money. Thank you. Any other comments, commissioners? Commissioner Reynolds?
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you. I'd like to recognize Jonathan Macias as the one who actually headed this program and made it a sustainable program that we could tout all over the state and get more funding. And I think it was his efforts in the first year and a half or 2 years of this program that really made a huge difference. So thank you, Jonathan.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Macias. Anything else, commissioners? Thank you, Ms. Dogwood. Thank you. Right, next, we move forward to agenda item
Ma'am.
number.
Oh, wait, oh, sorry. I forgot, we did vote on it.
A vote.
A vote.
Thank
You
you.
have to accept the money.
I was like trying to remember if we voted on it, yeah.
I forgot we vote on it. Amanda, would you please call a roll call for the vote? Thank you.
Commissioner Murillo,
Yes.
Commissioner Reynolds,
Yes.
Commissioner Sanchez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Shaljo Hernandez,
Yes.
and Chair Chaparro.
Yes, motion carries unanimously. Now we can move on.
Chair, this item has a resolution number.
Thank you.
It's 2023-10.
And the motion carries unanimously. And again, now we can move on to agenda item number 19, award contract to Avonet Technologies Incorporated for Community Development Solution and Implementation Services in the amount of $720,000. Ms. Ainsworth will be presenting on this. May I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Murillo, a second on the motion by Commissioner Sanchez. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This item has been a long time coming. We began with an efficiency review study where we contracted with management partners in February of 2020. It was probably just a couple of weeks before the pandemic started, so it was very timely. We did have management partners working with staff and members of other departments as well to review our development services processes to determine where we had efficiencies, where we could improve. And we ended up with a report with about 49 recommendations. One of the biggest, or I guess most challenging recommendations in that report was to review our software needs. And so ultimately, we contracted with Barry Dunn over the last year or so, who has been reviewing all of the processes within our department to determine exactly what we need from a software. It's been kind of a lengthy process, but well worth it. Through that process, we were able to put out an RFP, and we did have we had 6 responders. We ultimately narrowed it down to 3, where we had some demonstrations. Ultimately, I checked references as well, and we narrowed it down to Avoset, who will be implementing Clarity software for the department. It will be integrated with ePlansoft, which will allow for electronic plan review. We're very excited about this software. It has a much greater potential to assist with all of our needs, obviously. It will have a public portal where people can apply for their permits, pay for permits, upload their plans, check for comments on their plans, receive notifications when their plans are reviewed or when there's a comment from someone. They will be able to upload revisions. They'll be able to request inspections and then track the status of their inspections, be able to receive notification when their inspection is done. It will provide for that communication which is currently lacking. Our department averages about 3,000 phone calls a day. And obviously, we will always have phone calls. We will always have walk-in traffic. We have about 1,000 people who come in on a monthly basis. But that will obviously help with some of those calls. People currently apply for or request inspections through a cumbersome mechanism that we set up where they can submit it online, but then someone does manual entry to enter it into our system and then notify an inspector that they have an assignment. There's obviously room for error with that process. This is just one way that our system will be streamlined, and people will be able to just quickly log in and check the status of all their permits, track all of their activity as they're doing business with us. We will continue to have our walk-in traffic. We will still assist people who do not want to use the internet or just don't have the ability. We will always be there to assist those people as well as take phone calls from the public as needed. However, this will be a great benefit to the development community in general. Given that we have such a large county, not everyone wants to drive to Las Cruces to do business with us. So this will give everyone the opportunity to get the things done that they need to in a very streamlined manner with the response that they deserve, as well as creating greater efficiency for our staff so that we can do more with less and be able to be responsive, review plans on time, know the status of a permit just, with a few clicks on the computer. And so we really are looking forward to this. The cost for the implementation, $720,000. There are other associated costs. The licensing for Clarity and ePlansoft will run a little over $111,000. There's also a maintenance agreement that we can enter into with Avosoft as well, so that they can ensure that we continue to have the support that we need to make sure that our system is working. And so the timeline as well, we expect it to be a little over a year to do the development and implementation, which sounds like a long time, but given that it's taken us about 3 years to get here, it seems short. And so we're at the tail end of that process. Once we have it, it will just be light years better than where we are now. We do have Chowdhury Noor from Avocet, who I believe logged on through WebEx, so if there's any questions for him, he'll be able to answer those. Otherwise, I'll turn it over to you now for questions.
Thank you, Ms. Ainsworth, and my apologies for mispronouncing that, but there's two different spellings, one on the agenda and one on the presentation. Any comments from the board?
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Reynolds.
Ms. Ainsworth, as always, I'm confused. When you mentioned that there's a development and implementation cost, $720,000, you also mentioned there's a license cost of over $100,000?
Yes.
And then in addition, a software, a maintenance agreement as well. So this says there's an annual software maintenance. I assume that's the licensing.
Right, and there's
$11,000?
Yes, there's, it is a little bit confusing, and I apologize for that. The software and maintenance, the amount that I have in here is for licensing with Clarity and ePlansoft. Now, we can also enter into a separate agreement with Avocet as needed, so that we can ensure that once we implement the software, we continue to have support from them to ensure that we catch any glitches or anything that just didn't quite work right. We expect to have some kinks, and so we have that optional package as well that would be in addition to these other costs.
Okay, so we don't have that in this request right now?
It's
the additional cost?
I would like the ability to enter into that agreement as needed once the implementation has taken place, and that, as I mentioned, will probably take about a year.
Okay, so in the 12 months to 12 to 18 months, will we have any kind of access to anything immediately, or is it all gonna?
We will not. We will continue to work with iWork, who we currently use, until we are able to go live. During that time, we will be working with Avocet and Clarity to develop the system catered to our needs, and testing it, uploading our current information so that once we go live, we have all of the working permits that we've been working on in addition to our historical information.
And they'll be able to, and now the permits, sorry I'm asking so many questions, but this is, so what we currently have, the documentation is online, so will they be able to import that into this new system?
Yes, part of this agreement, it does include transferring of our data, so that we will have that information in our new system.
Okay, well, thank you. I think this is a huge step for us. I think it's
It
great
is.
for the county, and I appreciate
much
your
needed.
effort and
Thank you.
commitment to get this done. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Reynolds. Any other commissioner have comments or questions?
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Sanchez?
Thank you. Just had a question, Ms. Ainsworth, on the process. So is the intent that, or will applicants be able to see what the current status is of their application online as well?
Yes.
Okay. Will this help reduce turn times and our times for these applications for permits and licenses?
Yes. In fact, one of the reasons that the electronic plan review is beneficial is that it allows for simultaneous plan review. Once we receive and accept that application, a notification will go to all the different staff who review permits. And so they will be able to log in at their convenience and review the plans. Currently, what we do, although we do require multiple sets of plans, there's still a stepped process that has to occur where, in some cases, we send them to other departments and they can review it immediately, but there is still a lag time between some of the reviewers where it goes to one step and then the next step and then the next step. And so this will allow for everyone to log in at the same time, review it. You can see each other's comments. You can enter comments to each other that are not seen by the public. And so it will allow for much more coordination and communication with those plans that will streamline those review processes.
Okay. And then in terms of how the records will be stored, is the intent for it to be paper records, or will we be kind of looking to reduce the amount of paper we have and it be
Right.
electronic so it's easier to look up in the future?
Right, absolutely. Our plan is to go electronic as much as possible. We will still obviously have a need for paper at times. The much larger projects, we will still require a paper set because it's just more convenient to review it when you have hundreds of pages in a set of plans. For the most part, we will only receive electronic plans and all of our approvals will be electronic. This system will be integrated with a storage system as well, so that we will be able to maintain those records easily for future reference.
Okay. And then the last question I had was, this software, do we have any other references in terms of where it's being utilized, whether in New Mexico or in the area?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I checked several references for them. I talked to agencies, both within the state and outside of the state, who have worked with both Avastet and Clarity. And I received rave reviews from all of them. They also obviously had recommendations and things to look for just to make sure that our process goes smoothly. But I'm very confident that these two providers can give us exactly what this department needs.
Excellent. No, and I think this is great news. I wish we, I think if one thing that we learned during COVID, I wish we could have had probably this
Yes.
during that time, but, this is definitely a step forward. I think we need to continue to find ways in which we become, I would love for Doña Ana County to be the model for other counties, municipalities, in terms of our permitting and the community development, everything, the processes that you do. We become that model for the state of New Mexico, not so that way they can come to you and when they want to see what it is that we do, we can show that off and say, this is how we do it. This is what we do. I want to be the lead. I very much would love to be the leader in New Mexico, and whatever you need for that to happen, even if there's might be changes along the way, I would love to get that feedback. So,
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Sanchez. Commissioner Murillo, you had a comment?
Yes, I just wanted, it's a comment. It's a great investment, and like Commissioner Sanchez said, that if it would have been done like during COVID, and it would alleviate a lot of the long time process. It will be much easier for it, less time, and paper trail, because I know in the past I've had constituents say, oh, paperwork was lost or whatever reason. This will be much easier and you'll have that paper trail, but business friendly as well. And we can get, people to apply much faster. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Murillo, and I'm so glad, Ms. Ainsworth, this is a long time coming.
Yes.
Especially in my district that is growing so rapidly that we're getting so many calls from constituents and contractors and engineers requesting information quicker. And so, thank you for the work on this.
Thank you.
Any other comments, commissioners?
Madam Chairwoman, just very quickly, if I could. I saw recently some notes suggesting that we needed to take a look to see how the permitting process operates in El Paso, Bernalillo County, others like that. We did that 2 years ago. And we did that as a result of a meeting with the major developers that came in and really had a very blunt discussion in terms of the need for improvements. From that point, we went forward, and there are some members of this commission, I don't know that if they recall, they approved a contract with a national firm to come in and evaluate our processes in comparison to others, but especially to El Paso, City of Las Cruces, other people that we are being measured against. And they came up with 77 recommendations. Again, I think that probably Commissioner Sheldro Hernandez is the only one who may not have ever received a copy of that report, but it had 77 recommendations. This was a key recommendation. That's why, and that firm helped us through this process, putting together what we needed and then competing it and then evaluating the responses in terms of this award. So I want you to know when you talk about it, but this commission has made commitments in this area for years now. And now this isn't the first. I think Ms. Ainsworth has reported on some of the other improvements within the office based on recommendations that are being made. But again, I do want to kind of describe the overall effort, because it's never every one individual. It's just a team of people that is working with the community. And I know that every time I mention this out in the community, there is very, very strong response.
Thank you, Mr. Macias, and thank you for reminding us of that. I think sometimes we have so many issues that we tend to not focus on them so much. But thank you and your team. And anything else, commissioners, before we take a vote? Amanda, may I have a vote, a roll call for the vote?
Commissioner Murillo?
Yes.
Commissioner Reynolds?
Yes.
Commissioner Sanchez?
Yes.
Vice Chair Sheldro Hernandez?
Yes.
And Chair Chaparro?
Yes, motion carries unanimously. Thank you, and now we'll move on to agenda item number 20, report by commissioners on the annual inspection of the Doña Ana County Detention Center. And may I have a motion, please?
Madam Chair, this is just a report. There's really no accepting or voting on it that's necessary. It's just you and Commissioner Murillo letting the rest of the commission know what you found over there.
Thank you, Mr. Gooden. I appreciate it. And I'm going to have Commissioner Murillo start with the report.
Okay.
Thank you.
So Commissioner Chaparro and I went to visit on December 3rd, the detention center. And we have 6 sections here that we reviewed and gave from 1 to 3. So we have the general cleanliness overview, and we scored at a 2. The reception, break room, offices, guard pods, and catwalks were very clean. Common areas shared by inmates were clean, and the individual cells are dependent on the cleanliness of the inmates. Most are acceptable. The medical and intake booking was clean. The intake booking area needs to be repainted. The kitchen was not functional at this time of the visit. There are 2 mobile kitchen units outside of the detention center. What is concerning is that the kitchen is being remodeled and the contractors are taking longer than anticipated. The laundry room is clean, and are the inmate uniforms and shoes. So now with the general population inmate information, Doña Ana County Detention Center staff were able to provide list of inmates and were very respectful of the inmates. The inmates were respectful and appeared to be healthy in the general population. The inmates that were deemed ill were separated from others. The general morale was good. Under special population inmate information, the trustees were adequately supervised by staff and were known to the staff. So the medical area was very well equipped, clean, and organized. While on tour, an inmate requested to visit the medical area and was promptly escorted to meet with the medical personnel. All inmates are supervised and treated well. The tour did not include the juvenile facility at this time. It was done at a separate, different date. So staff information, the staff was professional, respectful, and very knowledgeable of the responsibilities. All that were observed seemed to be familiar with the procedures and well-trained. The staff were contacted and had good familiarity with rules and procedures. The food preparation process will better once the kitchen remodel is completed, will be better. The meals and portions were appropriate and sanitary. At present, there are 2 mobile units outside the detention center in a secure area. This is cumbersome to the staff due to the fact that the food must be transferred and takes longer to serve meals. However, it is noted that the staff is working efficiently to address this issue. On the miscellaneous, the commissary is sufficiently stocked and prices are reasonable. We got to see different, their variety of items there at the commissary. The overview, the Doña Ana County Detention Center staff cooperated fully and is to be commended for their professionalism. On this tour, we were made aware that the tablets are available to the inmates to listen to audiobooks, to watch movies, listen to music, and make phone calls. And that's like a big investment as well there at the detention center, how it was before. You know, you had a lot of inmates that would have to wait for calls if they had to pay their phones on the wall and had to have a list and see who was going before. And I guess it would be altercations in the very past, right? Now they have their tablets and they don't have that issue anymore. And they are supervised on the information that is under tablets, and they can check them out daily, and their process is fairly easy. We were pleased to see the new technology used by the staff to communicate with each other. The academy, we did see a situation where they have some devices where an inmate asked for a toothbrush, and so they scan it and be able to have that paper trail that they did receive the toothbrush. And so the rest of the inmates went along and asked for toothbrush, toothpaste. So it was very accommodating. You know, they accommodated, and the captain had the supplies handy, so it was easy to be able to receive these items. The academy was also included on the tour, and the building has been remodeled. Still needs some work. The conference room for the cadets is good, but need things such as pull-down screen for the projection. Matters that we believe which must be addressed as soon as possible are as follow. The kitchen remodeling must be finished soon. A new refrigerator freezer should be purchased. Some flooring is buckling and should be replaced. Guard pods and catwalks should be modernized and allow a better view of inmate cells, corridors, and recreational areas. Expand the staff break room and to include coffee makers and food vending machines. On this report, now on our juvenile detention center evaluation, we did get to meet 27 juveniles are housed there. We got to meet them. Very respectful, very nice, kids at the time that we were there. Engaging with them. The tour included the master control area, the medical facility, the supply storage area, and the detention pods. What was noted is that the master control area must be remodeled. Office equipment should be purchased that is ergonomic for the staff. And the staff break room needs remodeling, replace cabinets and countertops. The pods were clean, however, the water fountains must be replaced in both the female and male sides. Also, the water fountain in the hallway must be replaced. Preventive maintenance should be performed in the bathroom areas. The exercise area was clean and allowed sunshine to come in. And speaking with the detainees, they seemed to be in good health and good spirits. The food was served was more than adequate in both quality and quantity. What is noteworthy are the English and math teachers and the librarian, and I commend them because they're doing an excellent job, with the students. I did speak to the math teacher, and he takes care of, teaches from 6th grade to trigonometry, and he says that a lot of these children have potential, with the math. The English class was very alive and very encouraging for kids. What I noticed that a lot of these youth have art. They're very artistic, and they had a lot of art around the room. So I was very glad that I got to speak to the teachers. They have invested in the educational service provided to the children. We were pleasantly surprised to see how welcoming the library and the classrooms are for the children. The staff is very knowledgeable about policies and procedures and is compassionate. Overall, we gave the Doña Ana Juvenile Detention Facility a 2.8 score. And thank you.
Thank
Do
you,
you have any
Commissioner Murillo.
questions?
I'm also going to mention that Vice Chair Sheljo Hernandez was able to tour the Juvenile Detention Center. And I'd like to really give kudos to Director Brian Baker. You were so transparent, and your staff was transparent, and that was so much appreciated. As we were touring the facility, we were able to speak to, what was most important on the juvenile detention side is that we were able to speak to the juveniles that are detained, and they were also very honest with us. I know that the detention center, I recognize it needs some work, and hopefully this commission will be able to help them move forward, especially to remodel the security areas for your staff. I think they need to be raised. You need to have a way to surveil people on the adult side, and we recognize that. Vice Chair Sheljo Hernandez, do you have anything to add?
No, I think everything was added in the report. The only concern that I had is as we were walking out, there was standing water in the ponding area that was starting to smell. But besides that, it might just be a drainage issue, but everything else is in the report. Thank you.
Thank you. And we do have Director Baker here. Is there anything you would like to add, Director?
I had asked him a question earlier, Madam Chair, in terms of the completion of the kitchen, and he's been assured by the contractor that they're still on schedule to finish mid-February.
Yeah, I talked to my staff, and according to the most recent information from less than a week ago, that the kitchen should still be completed mid-February, and we are actively working on getting the flooring in the walk-in coolers and freezers replaced, because that was something that was noted.
Thank you, Director, and thank you again for being as transparent as you were during our tour. It's much appreciated.
Anytime.
Thank you.
And Madam Chairwoman, related to your, the portion on the juvenile facility, I want to let you know that even just today, we have children there that have been placed by the Bureau of Indian Affairs, Chavez County, Curry County, Eddy County, the Federal Marshal's Service, Grant County, Luna County, Otero County, Roosevelt County, Sierra County. We truly are the hub for southern New Mexico in terms of placement of children, and the opportunities here in Doña Ana County certainly have historically exceeded in terms of educational commitment, other programming for the children, although we're supposed to be a very short stay facility, but for some reason more and more it seems like the children are staying there longer, but they're receiving probably a higher quality of service than they were within the respective counties that are now placing them with us.
And I recognize that, Mr. Macias. I know that many years ago, I was at the detention center almost on a daily basis, doing arraignments and such things. And the difference from that time to now is so substantial that when I walked into the juvenile detention facility, I was in shock because of the educational opportunities that these children have, and the food and the care and the compassion in which they are being treated. And it was a good shock to me. So, Director, again, you are to be commended and your staff is to be commended. I was so overwhelmed by the compassion by your staff. So thanks again. Anything else, Commissioners?
Madam
Thank you.
Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Reynolds.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's my understanding as being part of the New Mexico Association of Counties Pool Board and having discussions with them about law enforcement and some of the risks in the county. I know that there are some legislative items on the agenda at the state level to make some changes to the detention process in the state. One of those is actually to have the state pay for transfer of prisoners from one detention center to the other. Another one is to possibly create a regional detention center system, so that, because we're already doing that with the juveniles because of the lack of services available in all the counties. And they're also talking about ways to better improve decrease the risk and improve the service to the prisoners by considering several detention centers, regional detention centers, of which I believe we're one. And I know that was recommendations put up by the New Mexico Association of Counties for this session. I don't know what the status is on the legislation, but I'm going to be reviewing that and looking at it, trying to understand it. And I know that Mr. Baker and I have had this conversation, and I think I've had the conversation with Fernando as well. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Reynolds. Anything else, Commissioners?
And Madam Chairwoman, again, forgive me for continuing to interrupt, but the staffing levels that had been brought to the attention of this commission before, our staffing levels are improving as well because of the financial commitment, the incentives that we've put into place. So I want you to know that issue is becoming less and less an issue as the staffing levels improve at the detention center.
Madam Chair, I'd like to jump on that as well, to say that part of the reason we're looking at regional detention centers are the staffing requirements and also the risk. So we're not the only detention centers having trouble keeping staff and having staff. We are not one of the best, but we're not the worst either. And that's another reason that New Mexico Association of Counties has focused on this and said, we need to look at how do we solve this going forward for a long-term solution. And so there's several things that are being considered. I expect some changes at least over the next 4 years, but I'm thinking changes this year as well.
Thank you, Commissioner Reynolds, for representing our county so well. Much appreciated. Anything else, Commissioners?
Madam Chair, I just had one question.
Yes, Commissioner Sanchez.
And I think one of the things, I know we've put in a lot of money for the kitchen, I think around the kitchen and the renovations around that. I think we approved it, I can't remember if it was December or November, the additional funds after the additional items in terms of trying to bring it up to code were identified. At least I thought that's what I recall. But one of the things that I think we were having issues around is the walk-in freezers and fridges where they're freezing around the doors. And I don't know if there's a way or we have plans to address that, or because I know we're putting in a lot of money to the kitchen. I'm wondering if that's something that we can address and make sure that we can get it fixed now and that it's set for the future, rather than kind of just continuing to fix things as we go along.
Part of the work that's being done is reconditioning of the existing walk-in coolers and freezers. That'll be fixing a lot of the air gaps, because over time they've separated, allowing air infiltration, which is what all the condensation is. That is being fixed, and the doors are going to be replaced with new seals so that they are able to seal effectively.
Okay.
And we're going to get the floors in those areas redone as well.
Okay, very good. I just wanted to make sure, like I said, I think one of the challenges we're seeing, not just at the detention center, but at our different county facilities, is that things are starting to age. We're having to, hence the overall of the HVAC system and all the stuff we've done at the detention center, as well as here at the government center. But I just want to make sure as we're continuing to do this, we make the investments so that it's not something that we're going to have recurring repairs and costs as we move forward. I just want to make sure that let's do the investment, get it done right, and then it'll be a future BOCC that has to deal with it again, and we don't have to be doing it. So thank you for addressing that.
No problem,
Thank you, Mr. Baker.
Thank you. Anything else, commissioners? And thank you again, Mr.
Sorry,
Director.
Madam Chair. Thank you guys for doing the report. And
You're welcome.
walking. The only thing I'd recommend is the food is really good. I tasted it last time.
Well, maybe you should taste the food next time. And we didn't have an issue with it, but COVID, with COVID going on, it just made it a little harder. Okay, now we're moving on to agenda item 21, annual resolution confirming the board's 2023 appointments to various committees and joint governmental entities. May I have a motion? I have a motion by Commissioner Murillo. Do I have a second?
Well, Madam Chair, and if I would make before we do that, I think we want to just make sure that we, in the motion, address who will be the 2023 appointees, if it's just going to be a simple cut and paste.
Thank you.
I just want to make sure that we have that motion to capture what exactly the assignments will be.
Thank you,
So
Commissioner
sorry about
Sanchez.
that.
No, any suggestions are welcome. I mean, we're a team, and so we work together very well as a team. All right, if we look over the commission appointments, and we've all seen what everyone is assigned to at present, is everyone cool staying where they are, or do you need to move?
I'm good with mine, Madam Chair. I think the only one that I had some discussion with is, I don't know if Commissioner or Vice Chair Sheldra Hernandez is going to be taking over the South Central Regional Transit District. If there's a particular want for you to be on that board, if not, I was curious if there might be some, I was curious to get back, or might be interested in getting back on the SERTD board. But I think that's the only one that I have some
All right.
possibility.
that
And we can move forward with what we have, and if we can have discussions later on as we move through the year, if we want to change or make that change.
All right, if I may do it this way, I'm going to start with Commissioner Reynolds. Are you happy with the appointments that have been made in the last year, and do you plan to remain on them?
I do.
Thank you, Commissioner Sanchez, except for the South Central Regional Transit District. You plan on staying on those committees?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Murillo?
Yes.
Thank you. And I plan on staying, and I like the idea of, as we move into the year, that we can have further discussion about making changes if need be. Vice Chair Sheldra Hernandez, are you comfortable in stepping into to the committees that Commissioner Allens was a part of?
I am, and if Commissioner Sanchez has an interest in the South Central Regional Transit, I am perfectly fine with not assuming that role in this coming year. By all means, it's yours.
I think we have
So-
agreement, so
Let me just note for the record so that we can complete. So Commissioner Sheldra Hernandez is going to be appointed to the Animal Services Center of the Mesilla Valley. And I want to note that I serve on it only because there wasn't a third commissioner willing to serve on it. So this is an opportunity for someone else. But if not, then there's no issue with me continue to serve there as a voting member. He takes over from former Commissioner Ellens for the Mesilla Valley Economic Development Alliance. He assumes a position on the Mesilla Valley Metropolitan Organization, and then also as a voting member of the South Central Solid Waste Authority. And Commissioner Sanchez substitutes for former Commissioner Allens on the South Central Regional Transit District. Is that all of the changes that we should note on our appointment schedule.
And Mr. Macias, that's what I'm understanding. Commissioners, is that your understanding as well?
Madam Chair,
So
Yes, Commissioner Reynolds.
it has been in the past customary for the chair to sit on the Mesilla Valley Economic Development Alliance Board. But that doesn't mean we have to follow that, because as you can see, Commissioner Ellens did last time.
Yeah, and that,
That's just your choice, that's just your option.
yeah, and Madam Chair, just for clarity, you know, I was the representative on Mavita, but due to my schedule, I wasn't able to attend the meeting, so I swapped that position with the Spaceport Tax Board with Commissioner Owens. So we just did that change, and so he took it just because at the, you know, at the time, I wasn't able to attend those meetings. So I think they're 8:30 on, I can't remember if it was the second Tuesday. I think Mr. Macias might have a better idea of when the Mavita board meets, but, or Mr. Montgomery.
It's not the second, because that's a commission meeting Tuesday.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
I think
the
it's on
third.
The third.
Yeah.
And is that
Third
once a
Tuesday.
month?
It's once a month, yeah.
And how lengthy is it?
It can vary, but.
Right.
2 hours?
It's in the morning at 8:30 in the morning.
Okay, I remember it being at 1 on the afternoon, maybe.
And Madam Chairwoman, I don't remember the bylaws for the Mavita indicating that it's the chair. I think it's just a representative, one of the commissioners.
I think it's been just the
Tradition?
the tradition. Yeah, and I think part of the reason was, you know, Commissioner Owens had already been, having been the outgoing chair, had already been on the board, so he had the familiarity, which is part of the, but otherwise, I don't think, yeah.
And let me suggest, it isn't the mayor that sits on it, it's Councilor Tessa Abeta. So I know that it can be any commissioner, and I know that Commissioner Sheldro Hernandez has a strong business-related background. I think that his appointment would.
Oh, I just want to make sure, Madam Chair, that this was not me making a suggestion, it was just making an observation. So I agree with everybody else. You guys decide if Commissioner Saljo Hernandez is very good as well.
No, and I agree that if it's all right with you, Vice Chair Sheldro Hernandez, I'd like to go ahead and step into that role. And just dependent on schedules, you and I might have a discussion on that in the next few months.
Okay, so should we note for the record that the appointment to the Mesilla Valley Economic Development Alliance is yourself?
Yes, please.
And then let me just note that on the backside, the second page, there's a Fire Protection Excise Tax Advisory Board. And it was filled by former Commissioner Ellens. Will that now be filled by Commissioner Sheldro Hernandez?
Commissioner?
I can't imagine that this is meeting more than once every quarter. I'll have to double check that.
Just, Madam Chair, and Mr. Macias, I think there was one other note down here that the, unless I missed it, the State Workforce Development Board as well, which is a quarterly meeting, is not listed on here, which I'm currently the representative for the county.
It is an appointment by the commission.
Yes.
I'm not quite clear why it's not here then.
Yeah, so that might be, I don't know if we need to amend. I thought it was, but maybe it's not. But I thought it was an appointment by the commission.
And what board is that?
The state workforce, the area, Southwest Area State Workforce Development Board for the southwest part of the state, or southwest region. And maybe it isn't a specific appointment that we have to do through the county, but I thought it was.
I don't remember that. I don't recall that committee.
And I think I took it over, I just happened that I think Commissioner Allens was on there. And then when I became chair, he handed it over to me.
You would like to remain on that?
Yeah, I would like to remain at least through at least to the middle, through June, July, which is, as I currently serve as the chairman of that board.
Thank you.
Okay, you're sure?
Commissioners, we can add that in. That should go then under what frequency of meetings?
Quarterly.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Murillo.
I have a question. Vice Chair, which one was the one that you weren't going to be in? Or are you being in all of them?
I am, Commissioner Sanchez is taking over the South Central Regional Transit.
Oh, okay, he is. Okay, I was
Yes,
just
ma'am.
trying to write it down.
But Vice Chair, I mean, if you have a particular interest, I don't mind, like I said, I just haven't been on there. I know, given our discussion even yesterday with the legislators, particularly in the rural areas, that's always a topic that comes up for us or for me is public transit in across the county, so.
I'll just bend your ear when I need to.
Mr. Macias?
So we would need just a vote adopting this resolution with the modifications that were read into the record, and I'm sure recorded very appropriately by Amanda. And
All
we'll
right,
make
any
sure-
further discussion by the commissioners regarding committee appointments? All right,
On this, Madam
Commissioner
Chair, on
Murillo?
this one, we also, for the two commissioners for the detention center, I still want it to be for next year for the report as well.
That's the next
That's the
item.
next item.
The next item, okay.
thank you. All right, so we have everything in the record. Do we need to make just a motion incorporating
A
everything?
motion and a second to adopt the resolution related to commission appointments.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we accept the appointments for 2023 as read into the record.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Sanchez and a second by Commissioner Reynolds. Amanda, may I please have a roll call vote?
Commissioner Murillo,
Yes.
Commissioner Reynolds,
Yes.
Commissioner Sanchez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Shaljo Hernandez,
Yes.
and Chair Chaparro.
Yes, and the motion carries unanimously. And we do have a resolution number.
Yes, ma'am. 2023-11.
Thank you. Right, we're moving on to agenda item 22, annual resolution appointing two members of the BOCC to conduct an annual inspection of the Doña Ana County Detention Center. And Commissioner Murillo, you said you wanted to remain on that?
Yes, I would like to continue.
Thank you. Is there any other commissioner that would like to join Commissioner Murillo?
I kind of got my feet wet this year. I'll go ahead and put my name in.
Thank you, Vice Chair Shaljo Hernandez. Since we have two volunteers, may I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion that we approve the annual resolution appointing Vice Chair Shaljo Hernandez and Commissioner Murillo to conduct the annual inspection of the Doña Ana County Detention Center.
Thank you, Commissioner Sanchez. We have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Reynolds. We have a second. And any further discussion, commissioners? May we have a roll call vote, Amanda?
Commissioner Murillo,
Yes.
Commissioner Reynolds,
Yes.
Commissioner Sanchez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Shaljo Hernandez,
Yes.
and Chair Chaparro.
Yes, the motion carries unanimously. So now we are moving forward to agenda item 23, hearings and ordinances. Approve a final plat for the Desert Mirage 2 Phase 5 subdivision. Ms. Ainsworth.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
And I need a motion, please.
I'll make a motion that we approve final plat for the Desert Mirage 2 Phase 5 subdivision.
Thank you, Commissioner Sanchez. We have a motion by Commissioner Sanchez, a second by Vice Chair Commissioner Shaljo to approve the final plat for the Desert Mirage 2 Phase 5 subdivision. Ms. Ainsworth.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a phase of a master plan, sketch plan that was approved in the ETZ back in 2002. They have already completed phases 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. And so after phase 5, they will still have 4 other phases to complete. This is the area there off of Dripping Springs for the current phase, which has,
Excuse me.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair. Yeah, I just wanted to verify, I can recall on a final plat approval if it's a hearing, an official hearing where we have to swear folks in.
Yes.
I was thinking we did, but I didn't recall. Thank you, Commissioner Reynolds.
Yes, I believe it is.
Thank you for reminding me, Commissioner Sanchez. Raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth under penalty of law?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that catch. So this property is located off of Dripping Springs. You can see on the map, right on the location map. And this is an aerial photo. These are large lot developments in that area. The current phase has 7 lots. All of the lots are over 1 acre, and 2 of them are over 3 acres. These are all of the phases in the master plan, just for your reference. And this is what the current phase looks like. And so pretty straightforward. It has been completed, and we do have a letter of substantial completion from the engineering department. Notices were published as required, and we did not receive any comments from the public. That's just an image showing the notification sign and images of the subdivision, which is now ready for construction of homes. And so the department does recommend approval of the final plat. I will stand for any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Ainsworth. Do the commissioners have any questions for Ms. Ainsworth?
I do have one, Madam Chair. Do we have a drainage map for the subdivision, how they're going to handle?
They did submit construction drawings for their subdivision, and those were reviewed by the engineering department as well as the flood commission. So all of their grading and drainage was, it was done to county standards and approved by those departments.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else, commissioners? Any other questions? Commissioner Reynolds? No? Commissioner Murillo, anything?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Anything else that you need to present, Ms. Ainsworth?
That was everything. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. And may I have a roll call vote, Amanda?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
We might want to see if you have any comments or questions for the board.
Thank you,
Sorry.
Commissioner Reynolds. I appreciate that. Paul, how are you?
Good morning, Madam Chair. Good to see you again.
Good to see you.
Paul Pompeo, Southwest Engineering, 475 Archuleta Road.
Do you swear to tell the truth under penalty of law?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Chair and Commissioners. My name is Paul Pompeo with Southwest Engineering. We're the engineering firm that completed this subdivision. I don't have a presentation for you, but I would happy to answer any questions you might have.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Pompeo? No? No. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for alerting me to that, Commissioner Reynolds. Amanda, may we have a roll call vote?
Commissioner Murillo,
Yes.
Commissioner Reynolds,
Yes.
Commissioner Sanchez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Shaljo Hernandez,
Yes.
and Chair Chaparro.
Yes, motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ainsworth. Mr. Pompeo.
And thank you for your patience.
Amanda, do we have any correspondence?
Yes, we do. Alejandro Hernandez, Gerardo Chavez, Juan Hernandez, and Christian Morales Martinez versus Doña Ana County, Ramona L. Goldsby versus Doña Ana County, and Gary R. Purcell versus Doña Ana County.
Thank you. We don't need to adjourn for a special or any closed session. And so I believe we are done, commissioners. Thank you so much for everything. I appreciate your time. Thank you, Macias, for preparing this packet for us. Thank you, Amanda, for helping me along on my first meeting. I appreciate you. I appreciate all of you. We are adjourned at 12:45 p.m.